longtime contributors who were editors, like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that, you know, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such.
Look at this.
I'm just saying. I'm telling.
It is a shame that he didn't literally barf.
I remember Hank, and like the fact that.
Imagine making that face about a guy who you hired and you had him called part-time while he worked 40 hours. Chunks just burst out of him. Lowest paid editor in the company with zero health insurance, classified as independent contractor. No paid days off, no bonus, no health insurance. I asked for help. His answer, changed my status to part-time. Still working 40-hour weeks, still no health care. I appreciate that so much, though, that she actually brought it up, because this took a ton of courage for her to do that.
I'm just asking for empathy, Cenk. It's just being a little empathetic.
No, I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered friend.
By tweeting.
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. Well, when the union came forward, Cenk lied about me and my friends by telling his audience that that outsiders, precisely Nancy Pelosi, Christy Smith, and their IATSE minions, went out of their way to manipulate his workers into unionizing in order to harm his congressional campaign. Wild story. We wanted better working conditions. Anna signal boosted the smear. But you run a company that attracts people who believe in unionizing, then you give them all kinds of reasons to unionize, and then you're surprised that they unionized? It also made it feel like I was being forced to carry a dark secret about TYT, and I just simply refused to do that. That's kind of why you're hearing me talk right now about this. And TYT is run by a former health insurance executive anyway, and they use employment practices that prevent people from having health insurance. Now, obviously, Cenk wouldn't have tackled me if I walked into an ER somewhere. He would act like he cares about vulnerable communities. His own workers asked for help, and his answer was to increase the bullying. The guy who made the Young Turks Medicare for All t-shirt did so while he was secretly unionizing because I didn't have health insurance. It's actually a nice shirt. I actually really quite like it. He's mad she brought it back up.
People really liked you.
This part.
They really did. And they looked up to you.
I totally relate with what she's saying.
Us to see you, honestly, act like very small when in fact you could be a lot bigger. Obviously,
He helped with nothing.
All right, let's see what I helped with. Let's look at the stuff I worked on. Why would they fire their hottest 4 people? Seriously.
A better high means customers pay more.
So here's the performance review. This can be read yourself on balledontheinside.substack.com in the article titled 2 Versions, 1 Truth, Evidence for My Claims About the Young Turks. And scroll all the way. I got all the receipts here, man. I got everything you want to see that backs up everything I'm claiming. Because if he had just been a fucking man and used words to express that disrespect, that would have drawn attention to the project. And therefore he fell back on a coward's way of using a loud laugh to express it. Why don't you just fucking say it, Cenk?
Say my name. Do what?
This hat. This is the hat that I wore. It's all worn out. Actually, it's all crumbly. For some reason, the brim here. See how it's all broken in there? I wore the hell out of this hat. I had so much pride about this hat. It's the original stitching, too. It's the higher quality stitching than the one they switched to. I looked up to the guy. This is definitely one of the more ultimate, like, never meet your heroes type of situations. So, yeah, there it is. Huge moment in the Young Turks documentary project I'm working on, Tell the Truth, Cenk. A documentary about dignity, a documentary about consent, a documentary about democracy, a documentary about work, a documentary about labor, a documentary about Cenk Uygur and the workers at the Young Turks who had to start a union in order to try to get one of their friends, comrades, and members the ability to go see a doctor and to get paid days off. I'm that person who was in that situation. So I lived a very core and played a very core role in the TYT's union's origins. Thus, I'm making the documentary, particularly because Cenk lied about me and my friends by telling his audience that that outsiders, precisely Nancy Pelosi, Christy Smith, and their IATSE minions, went out of their way to manipulate his workers into unionizing in order to harm his congressional campaign. Wild story. Man, like we just watched a Sam Cedar clip. Imagine if Matt Leck, Emma, Bradley, Dorsey is in there. Let's throw in DJ Anarchy, who did the fun half, the break video in the middle. I think they might have a couple other people that help them and stuff. The AM Quickie crew. Honestly, I probably would be really good on that crew on some of their. Hire me, Sam, would you motherfucker? I can't get hired anywhere else. I would actually be good for that company. It's a weird thing to say, but imagine if all those people unionized, and then Sam comes out, and then Cenk never verbalized this stuff. He did it with statements. They put out statements on their Twitter. It's all very well detailed on. It's all very well detailed on my Substack, baldontheinside.substack.com. This article especially, 2 versions, 1 truth, evidence for my claims about the Young Turks. You can see their story, and I tried to be as dispassionate as possible. Of course, starting out, you should check out, if you're brand new to the story, don't read my words, read these 4 articles. Those give you a really good foundation for TYT's union busting. And then here's their version. I tried to keep it as, clearly I'm too biased and too close to this to completely say this is totally objective, because there's always editorial discretion that's being exercised in anything. But anybody else who was challenged to sort of try to do the same thing would probably end up with something like this. I tried. There's another article here that's filled with my rage and my interpretation and stuff, and I defend that. But also, that's not the best way to introduce a story necessarily. So this goes through all the ways that they spread this conspiracy. It includes the articles that were written that talk about it being a conspiracy, Cenk's emails to unionizing workers. This is like me interpreting some of that, giving just sort of a, clear responses. Yes, like I said, it's somewhat, there is definitely interpretive breakdowns here. But, and then myself included, just because I was the one worker who was part of the union who was not, no longer at the company. I was laid off about a month before it came forward. So my voice was relevant to the story that was told on the day that everything went crazy online, February 21st, 2020. So that's why I included my voice in their version, because this was a TYT worker made it known that what they were saying wasn't true. And this is an invitation to them to do some fact checking, which they didn't do. They had no reason to distrust me. I wasn't like I was known as the liar around there. Oh, we're going to watch Cenk react to my name in a little bit, which is a really fascinating moment in this whole project. The way he just immediately makes a barf. And then most of this article, though, actually about half, I guess, if we're looking at it, is my story. Okay, so we have TYT's version, and then I can't find it. And then we have my version, and I have all the documents. I don't have every single Gusto invoice invoice I had to send in, or Gusto record, but I have samples of those. Here's TYT's proof from their HR person. This is from an email that was sent that their part-time threshold is 30 hours, even though I worked 40-hour weeks. I was hired for 3 different classifications. I have, this is a summary of all the work I did. Look at this one here, part-time hours, part-time classification, hours worked, average 7.8, 9, 8.5, 7.8, 7, 8. These are normalized over 10 days. So 83 hours in 10 days, those are 40-hour weeks. These are all 40-hour weeks. While I was called part-time, and the X's on here indicate the days I would have been paid had I been classified as my coworkers were, the people with whom I unionized. Finally, I did receive benefits, and these blue highlights are the first days off I earned. I was paid. Actually, that's a misspeak. I earned all this money. This is my money. This is all my money. It's still in their account. This is my fucking money we're talking about. And I have it summarized right here. All this unpaid money here belongs to me. Several $1,000s, including, and then you add on top of that the bonus. So I go through all kinds of stuff. Here's the Gusto or the invoice records. This is what it would have looked like had I been paid, here in the yellow. But up here, when I should have been paid, there's no yellow. There's just no entry for that. So my claims are true. We're also going to come back to this in a little bit too, as well. So why did I bring that up? I don't remember. But Francesca Fiorentini, who has been a longtime TYT contributor, they both got a bad frame right there. Okay, there he goes. She was brave and courageous. I sounded weird when I said it. Brave. She showed. Oh, fine. She showed so much professionalism and bravery and courage to bring up my name to Cenk. The entire interview, though, is incredible. Not just for bringing up my name, I should say, just to be clear, like the way she approached this and the way she handled herself and the intensity that she must have been feeling during this conversation. I tweeted out that, like, man, she just must have been so tired. It just was like this. She had to have had like one of those like big come downs after this, because, you know, she's good at what she does. She clearly puts a lot into it, and she's a real pro. But this is the kind of thing that had to have been just a tough slog for her. And then she put out clips and stuff, and this video I think has 200,000 views, and lots of people are making content about it. Really grateful that she brought up my stuff. So we're going to look at a few different moments from this, and then we'll see the part where Cenk reacts to her bringing up my name. And I'm going to share, and I'm going to react about that. So yeah, I didn't work with her on projects at TYT. I knew of her like when she was with AJ Plus, and she mentions in this, or maybe this wasn't this interview, but in one of her recent, she talked about she was a correspondent for National Geographic. She had her own media career going before the Young Turks. It's not like the TYT made her. And she's a stand-up comedian. But when I was there in 2018 through 2019, 2020, I would talk with her occasionally when she was in the office. It wasn't like we had a lot of long conversations, but it was fine. It was friendly. She always had a good vibe. And she's kind of tall. And her husband, Matt Lieb, who does the podcast Bad Hasbara, is a real funny dude. He's tall as well, and I actually think he's taller than me. And so my main memory of Francesca is at the Christmas party that year, chatting with her and Matt for like maybe 5 minutes. I just remember standing around talking to them, and I just liked that they're tall. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's really nice when tall people can talk to each other, because I'm so used to sort of like leering over people and just looking down at them, in a tall guy kind of struggling to feel like he's understanding what's going on. I have auditory processing issues. I have difficulty hearing like really easily, especially in loud environments. And so like, yeah, my whole, looking back on all the times where I was at bars or at parties or at places where I'm just like leaning over awkwardly, trying to hear enough so that I could understand what a person's saying. And I didn't have to do that with Francesca and her husband, Matt. So it was really wonderful. And I hope they have a tall baby. Okay. Wouldn't it be weird if their baby came out tall? If it started out tall? All right. So let's get into it. Francesca earned herself a spot in Tell the Truth, Cenk. We're going to get to that, but let's start with this opening bit here. I have some notes so I can kind of know what I'm about to play. Who is we? She asks Cenk.
It's sort of a deal with the devil either way. I do want to just step back. I want to step back from the news a little bit and truly understand what you believe you are doing and who you believe you represent. Just really briefly, who you believe you represent when you go on these shows. You say we a lot, and I'm not sure who you are referring to when you say we. Is it yourself? Is it you? And is it Anna and you and Anna?
So Cenk had just been on Patrick Bet David podcast. Anna was on Glenn Beck before this, I believe. Sorry if I'm wrong about that, but I believe that's true. But the main one was his appearance at the Turning Points USA conference with Charlie Kirk. That's the one that kind of really like set this thing ablaze, to use a metaphor. It feels weird to use like fire emojis these days, honestly, but that'll pass. We'll get back to using fire metaphors. Fire is fundamental to, okay, stop it, Hank. But and a bunch of other right-wing shows and stuff like that. But in Cenk's credit, he's on with Francesca, and he also went on the Mark Lamont Hill podcast. I think that's called Night School or Office. It's Night School, I think it is. That's also a really interesting and worthwhile watch to see, because Mark Lamont Hill is really smart, knows a lot of, like, he's like a professor or some shit. Not quite sure, but really smart guy, and he held Cenk's feet to the fire on a bunch of stuff. Not quite like the way this was. Not that it's a competition so much, but so that's kind of what she's talking about. Anna actually, I think this week here now in January, was just on the Megyn Kelly podcast, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to go on other shows and to try to reach audiences that you might not have previously connected to. But we'll just let them go here.
Is it all of TYT? Is it the broader left? Who do you think you represent when you go on these shows to make the case about how there's commonality?
Yeah. So great question again. So first off, for folks who don't know, Young Turks is the flagship show of the TYT network. So the TYT network is the whole left. So Franny's on the TYT network. This show's on the TYT network, and at least on the podcasting side. And so Franny is to the left of me on many issues. So is Jordan Ewell. So is so many other people, right? And so I never block anyone from stating their opinions.
Except anybody that wanted to talk about the union, though. Not that I have evidence that he's done that, other than the fact that he lied about it. Anna did air quote union busting, and they've never covered their story. NLRB cases, the use of anti-worker law firms, never been covered. It's the kind of thing they would cover if it were a different company. But so, you know, I'm not saying I know confidently that there's a memo that says never cover this, but it was never covered. The guy did aggressive union busting, including a smear about his own workers, and had exploitative working conditions that he was trying to hide. They had to post a notice on their wall that the government forced them to for violating Section 7 of the NLRA. That's available on my Twitter all over the place. If I find this in the edit, I'll put it on screen, in which case you're looking at it, or if not, you're not looking at it.
And I like that we have the whole range, right? And and in the past, we've had David Pakman as part of the net, like the YouTube network broadly.
But who's the we, Cenk? Who's the we? You've said these things before, and I have thoughts on them. But who's the we?
So that's TYT. TYT is that whole spectrum of left wing thought. And as you know, Franny, we debate on the show all the time. We don't. We really I just want to be fair. Like, we don't. Because if we did, we would have had this conversation many, many times, but we don't. Number one, I am not the main host. Anna Kasparian is. Number two, I am rarely the fill-in host. Jordan Ewell has been filling in quite frequently. Number three, when I do fill in as a host or as a guest, it depending on the story is when we can actually sometimes maybe squeeze in 1 or 3 minutes of debate, but we have to keep it moving. That is the job. The job is to do the news. It's to get to all the different things. So I just want to say that it's very unfair to say that these debates have happened on the main show. Certainly not with me. Maybe once around trans issues, but I want to leave that aside. Who is? Yeah,
there was one episode last October where she, maybe it's September, but where she and Cenk were kind of got into it and about Cenk's insistence that trans professional sports teams should be allowed to exclude trans people from participating. He also makes comments about puberty blockers and hormones and stuff like that. It's I don't feel educated enough on it to speak with a ton of authority about precisely the way it's transphobic, but I've watched a lot of content creators talk about it. Riverboat Jack is a really smart autistic person on Twitter, or sorry, on YouTube, who is trans and who has talked about this a bunch. I was a guest on No Comment Chick, Irene Geller, who is also super smart, and I really appreciate her takes and the coverage that she's done about TYT stuff.
Cenk has always had a reactionary personality. That's true, Philip. That's true. Yeah, and if you go back far enough, you'll find TYT doing transphobia. Yeah, they had an interesting arc on that, right? Because back in the day, early TYT, here's why Cenk is reacting the way that he's reacting, at least on trans issues, right? Back in the day, he used to be able to use like transgender as a pejorative. In other words, if he wanted to comment on a cis cheerleader that he didn't think was attractive, he would say she looks kind of transgender to me, right? So that was okay. You got away with that back then. Nobody on the left called you out for that. Nobody in the Democratic Party, right? You could straight up be transphobic, and then people would be like, yeah, that's gross and weird and right? And then in the 2010s, things changed a little bit. And I don't think that Cenk changed along with things. I think that part of him stayed behind, but at least he sort of knew enough to, keep those reactions sort of quiet. But, he's realized he doesn't have to. There's a...
So I don't know what this chick's name is, but I saw it independently on the internet. And I was like, oh, geez, and Lord mercy. At first, I was wondering if it was Photoshopped, right? But it turns out it's not. She's real, right?
It looks Photoshopped. I mean, her arms look unbelievable.
Take a full screen on it, yeah. Oh, no. And I heard there was a debate on this. There's no debate. I'm ending the debate. I don't have my gavel with me, but I'll use my fist. 999! No way. No way. Not even close.
No way what? Like there's a
Not
debate.
even like I'd be worried that she was gonna break something of mine during sex, and I'm much more worried that she's gonna pull out a jammy on me.
She actually doesn't. Oh yeah, she does. Never mind. I was gonna say she doesn't look so bad in that picture, but this one.
There's an excellent chance she's a male.
No, okay, look. Here's the thing. I'm not gonna go quite
Look
as
at
far.
how long her arms are.
I'm not gonna go quite as far as you have.
I don't want to find out what's under that skirt.
Okay, just calm down.
Thing, but she kept injecting herself with vitamins.
Like B6 and B12. Okay, first of all, look at her, man. What's with the, I mean, what are you, The Rock or Madonna? I mean, who's turned on by that tranny look? Really, who's into it? Who's into the veins in the arm and the muscles and stuff like that? They get sick in the head at some point trying to stay fit.
But the women in there are, I mean, look, I went there 21 years ago as a 16-year-old. A friend of mine brought me once or whatever. But back then, the women in there were atrocious. Okay, just some of the most nastiest women you've ever seen. In fact, the best-looking woman in there by far was a tranny. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
You know when a woman looks good? When she looks juicy. See, I'm not playing, okay? When you're like, oh, I like to get my hands on that, if you know what I'm saying, you know?
Kim Kardashian type?
Yeah, look at the little tush in your bush or whatever you call it. Or yeah. But like where you want to squeeze them. Not when you're like afraid their elbow's going to cut your cheek while you're having sex. You know, like, you know, just, or they're going to beat you up or something.
instead of getting diseases and guys wandering the streets and, you know, doing trannies or whatever's happening, okay, you go to the brothel, or in fact, if you want to do the tranny brothel and a gay brothel, but don't make them brothels, make them clubs. I think it was lovely. You go in there, la 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 la, I like this one, I don't like this one, ba-da-da-da, bang, bang, bang. What could be easier?
Just go to Amsterdam.
I know, but why don't we make Amsterdam, the world Amsterdam?
But
Are we sure this isn't Photoshop? That looks like the longest arm in the world. And right there's no way I would hook up with her. I think, no way, man. I don't want to find out what's going on up downstairs.
just calm down. You're being too mean. Look, I was gonna.
No, she's so much larger than everyone else. No, there's an issue, man.
She's got a great stomach.
How large are her hands? No, I'm telling you, man. We're gonna find out something. I don't want to say anything, but
First of all,
you guys were saying this woman is attractive.
First of all, Cenk acts like he's never seen a woman that's taller than 5'3" or something. She's like 6 feet tall, and she hits the gym. I don't see the crazy freakiness about it.
I see how you roll.
What is the thing? It's like, well, yeah, and I see how you roll. You're afraid of women. You really whoop their ass.
At some point, I would love to lead this conversation to a concept called diagonalism, which is how a lot of this stuff works. A lot of these attempts to take people on the left and steer them towards the right are forms of diagonalism. It's finding constituencies that in some way the left has left behind, whether it's the electoral left or whatever, and sort of almost like culturally capturing them. Have you ever, like in the game Othello, you know how like you put one piece of yours on this side and one piece on the other side of a group of your opponent's Othello pieces, and it flips them? That's what Steve Bannon tries to do. That's what he looks for. He's out there always on the prowl looking for a constituency that has been underserved by the left, that's either been like overpromised, you know, like millennials with something like student debt, or somehow just not being reached.
So I've seen this discussed by people who know much more about it and can speak with more confidence about the reasons. It's bad, and I just trust people to lead me there, because I know I'm not the person who should be insisting I know what's best for trans people. I want them to be safe. I want their dignity to be respected. They shouldn't have to fucking explain themselves or defend their life and their existence and try to just to try to fucking feel okay and show up and present authentically to the world and to themselves and within themselves. It's such a disgusting thing to participate in any way at helping keep the embers lit that the right wing is trying to impose on this group of people who are under so much scrutiny and assault, and it's terrible and it's so wrong. God damn it, it makes me mad. Anyway, so but she did push back on him. That's what she's referring to. And he also had a few different kind of argumentative conversations with Jordan Uhl about a topic. I think it was this. Oh no, that's right. That's the thing Cenk says where the left wants prisoners to get free sex changes, free gender reassignment surgeries. If you cross the border and you just demand free gender reassignment surgeries, I think I saw some stat somewhere. I didn't confirm it, but someone said like in the history of the country, there has been 2 instances where someone in an incarcerated state, and they didn't say anything about their immigration status at all, received some kind of gender affirming surgery or care. 2 over the entire time. And, you know, and it's sort of the point that the Sam Seder makes, Matt Leck, Emma, and Sam, and I agree with, and it's kind of what is sort of brought up in here is it's what you prioritize. It's what you go out of your way to make a fuss over, as there's a lot of power in that. And that's really where the editorialization of it comes from in terms of affirming right-wing narratives and keeping the fire stoked and the risks and the danger for these people up. It's not cool. Anyway, sorry. That's just to be clear that there had been some heated debate, but obviously Franny, I don't mean to call her Franny. I don't think she likes that, but her Twitter says Franny Frio, so it's in my brain. Francesca doesn't agree that the level of debate that Cenk wants people to believe is accurate. So she's pushing back pretty strongly about that, which I appreciate.
Who are you saying when you say we?
Okay, but let me address that real quick. But yes, but I've gotten into so first of all, we do the news, so we debate within that news story. Is it a shorter period of time? Yes. Sometimes I'll do longer ones. I did a longer one with Jordan Uhl and Jules Sulzdayev, et cetera, and here we are within the network, et cetera. So now that's TYT is the left in general. Young Turks is the flagship show. That's me and Anna, and so I would say that we, as in me and Anna, are maximum populist, but not maximum left, right? So I am maximum left on some issues, but not all issues.
Well, Cenk, if you're, let me not do the talking to the camera. See if that's Cenk. If they're going to call themselves if they're going to label anybody to their left the maximum left, then why don't we call them the minimum left? They're just trying to be as right as possible, yet still just minimal left, just enough to be kind of have that cachet so that your perspectives, your right-wing narratives, your right-wing framing, your peace offerings to the right when you go on their shows where you just talk about how terrible the maximum left is. All you're trying to do is just keep that power, keep that straight. That's part of the grift. That's the whole big process we've all watched happen multiple times here. The minimum left versus the maximum left. I think it's a stupid, it's time.
And so those are 2 different political spectrums. There's a left-right spectrum and the establishment populist spectrum. I mean, I now see Emma Vigeland defending the establishment, which is mind-blowing.
Look at Franny, though.
I want to leave that.
Look, she didn't like that he brought up Emma, and I didn't like it either. Because what is he doing? He's been saying this about her defending the establishment, and Anna, when they were sounding off on them in like November or so, like at Emma, it was in one of those bonus shows that they did about how she had, I guess she cried on election night or something, but like that they're trying to paint her as if she's the biggest Kamala Harris lib stan in the world, and like that she showed some emotion on a very intense political night doesn't at all support that. And if you watch the Majority Report, that's not at all where Emma stands on any of it. But it's odd that he volunteers her name up, and Franny doesn't like it. Or sorry, Francesca doesn't like that. And I'm pausing on this because it comes up a little bit later as well. So let me back up a couple 10 seconds and then watch her face when he says Emma.
There's a left-right spectrum and the establishment populist spectrum. I mean, I now see Emma Vigeland defending the establishment, which is mind-blowing.
I want to leave that aside, but I just want to, because I really want to talk about what you are doing and what you believe you are doing. And I want to just explain, by showing, and I want to ask you what you think the goal is of what you are doing. But here was
we'll watch this a little more and then we'll jump to the next part that I have.
Moment where you were on TPUSA's on Turning Point USA's conference, and Charlie Kirk who is a Christian nationalist. He's an avowed Christian nationalist. TPUSA has had wildly racist.
Backing up here. Look at Cenk's face when she says Christian nationalist.
Who is a Christian nationalist. He's an avowed Christian nationalist. TPUSA has had wildly racist and white supremacists associated with them, including inviting people like Nick Fuentes to speak. No matter what you think of his thoughts on BlackRock, here is him asking you about left media. And I got to say, Cenk, this one sucked real hard for me. And you also, I think, have been using these opportunities to talk a lot about the left to the right.
I think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks.
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT that's in the left-wing ecosystem.
I just want to stop and say I'm excited to hear which ones you like, given that you just sort of insulted Emma Vigeland just now. I'm curious which ones you actually do still support that aren't your own, but I'm going to keep going, Cenk. Hang on.
So I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that there isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing. Okay, so you do a couple of things well. You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
And a lot of people on the left know this as well.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody? We totally fucking destroyed this guy so hard that he's sucking up to us on our own stage here. Look at it, everybody. Pathetic, man.
If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right-winger, you're a fascist, right? But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. That's what I warned them about, and that's what happened, right?
Okay, so there you are, and, you know.
Yeah, love it. Stick with 100% on what I just said there. I'm 100% right about that. So let's discuss.
Yeah, let's discuss. You had your say there, and you've been saying various degrees of that same thing. And I gotta say, like, I watched this whole, I watched the whole clip, and it started off, and I was like, this is pretty good. This is good. Like, pretty good interview. I like that you're sitting down. It wasn't bad. This moment, like, truly a part of me died when I watched this.
Wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah. Oh, super. Just like shriveled up and died, floated away into the ocean.
Got eaten by a jellyfish.
Here's what happens. Couple things.
Which is the worst way to be eaten. Just ask my friend Billy. He's still being eaten by a jellyfish. He does a podcast about being eaten by a jellyfish.
He asks you about left-wing media and why there isn't more left-wing.
It's called Jelly with Billy. What am I doing?
Media. Which already, as you were there,
it's called Where'd My Arm Go?
There, in the sort of kingdom of turning points, is like, that's such a dig. Like, why are you guys so weak is effectively what he's saying. And instead of pointing out the way that TPUSA has been bankrolled by Republican mega donors out of Chicago and many other places for years now, and talking about how the Daily Wire was funded by the fracking brothers, the Wilkes brothers. Now they're fishing for new, investors, whatnot, but that there is so much money on the right. He handed this answer to you on a fucking platter, and all you said was, you know what? You guys are really good at being welcoming. People just like you. Cenk, they've got all the money.
I didn't say people just
what are you talking about?
So she's coming at him strong. And you can this is sort of in the interview where the kind of contentiousness sort of starts to ramp up a lot. I mean, I think in the earlier part of it, but this builds and it gets into some pretty intense moments. So let's jump ahead a little bit since we're already pretty close. Well, okay. 2320 is the next one. Actually, I have it tabbed out. So we are ready to go. What shows on the left do you like? She said she wanted him to answer that, and they didn't get back to it, but here they do. They get back to it. So this is, let's see what they got.
I'm trying to get our side to wake up, snap out of our hypnosis of we hate, and we hate the right wing, and they're all white supremacists, and they're all racist, and they're all sexist, and we hate, and we never go in the room with them. We hate. What the hell happened to us? And
that's right. That's what the left is. It's just all we hate. What the fuck, man?
was allowed to disagree. We're now authoritarian. No.
Wait,
I
Cenk,
rebel.
can I just clarify?
It's such straw manning, though. That's the part. She's going to ask him what shows you like here soon. But like the straw manning is so obvious, or not even that it's not that hard to pick up on. But once you kind of just look for it, when he goes, the left says that crime isn't real. They believe there's no such thing as crime. It's all that they just hate. They just want to. We're authoritarian. Who the fuck on the left is running around saying that? It's completely ridiculous, and he completely mischaracterizes. It's like straw manning is an example of bad faith in practice. It's the assuming the worst intentions of the person you're speaking about, but then phrasing and characterizing their argument or what you think as their argument in the easiest way possible for you to immediately knock over. Thus the straw men of it all. Straw men famously being known for being easy to knock down. They are very dry and very kindly. They can go up real quick.
I will never allow the left to be authoritarian, and this idea of just hate.
Watch Franny's eyes here. This statement's very ironic.
I will never allow the left to be authoritarian, and this idea of just hating the other side is poison.
She had to bite her tongue right there. That's funny.
You know what's so funny about you calling the left authoritarian is that you think the left has power. Like, I love that you think
total nonsense.
we are on the precipice of real authoritarianism and real fascism, and you believe that the online left are the authoritarians. I mean, I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah, it's people with the transgender flag in their Twitter bios and their Blue Sky bios. Those are the real power brokers in society.
You sound like Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi had a kid, and it came out Cenk Uygur. And let me just ask you though. Let me just ask you. So what shows on the left do you like that aren't on the TYT?
So I just imagined Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi having, roller skating. Ooh.
Network.
Yeah. So I said, look, there's a lot of good popular shows on the left that I like, and it's because there are. So.
My show.
Breaking Point's a good show. Kyle Kalinski's Secular Talk is a good show. He was against me going on MAGA. I haven't seen his video, but Kyle's been against us a couple of times. But I largely didn't hold a grudge on that.
But wait, let me just stop you. Let me just stop you. First of all, you had a great conversation with Crystal Ball. I think she made some really good points to you I think it was on Breaking Points. Kyle has, I think, been very disturbed, especially by your appearance with Charlie Kirk. But what you just said there, they've been against us. I really want to just dig into this idea that, because you're a fighter, man. That's cool. That's great. But like, you really do have a very, I almost want to call it Bush-like, Cheney-like, you're with us or against us attitude.
100% wrong.
So he can't, listen, this is interpretive, but like being criticized to him feels like being attacked. He can't necessarily separate criticism from victimization, and that's what sort of induces the if you are against me 100%, like you're with us or against us kind of notion that she's talking about.
Like you just literally, I love that you're.
Now, of course, he disagrees vehemently. 100%. That's 100% wrong.
My point, but when I say this, you truly you sound like people are either against you, but if they criticize you, they are not. And yet here you are, Cenk, telling the entire right wing that all you want to do is break bread with them, that you want to debate with them, but afterward you want to go have a beer.
Yes, I do.
You want to have a beer with people who want to put people in mass deportation camps. They want
See
to.
What he says, how has hate worked out for us? What he's trying to say is your strategy is to hate. It's the same straw manning thing he was just doing. How has hate worked out for us to say, like, you are doing it, you are hateful, you are doing it wrong. I'm the one that's trying to bring some sense to the left by stopping all the hate. Like it's like, and Anna has said this a couple of times in some of her discussions with people where she says, paraphrasing, but like, I used to hate Trump supporters, and now I realize how wrong I was, that I thought they were all terrible and but it's like, that's just an incredibly reductive and way oversimplified notion of people's feelings towards those who are MAGA and those who are on the right. Are there some who can apply that word in a very simplistic sense? Yeah, of course. That's always the case. You can find any example, any kind of instance, especially with the internet, to support whatever argument you're trying to make. But if the purpose of that sort of commentary is similar with Cenk, the hate thing, accusing the left of being filled with hate, is that's a signal to the right that their role is to discipline those on the left, and also to say that they're abandoning a story that is now it affirms the right-wing narrative that everybody who isn't kissing up to them and having fun with them and having beer with them after having friendly conversations on their shows are holding on to all this hate, and they're the ones that we have to now fight. It's not true. It's not the way it works, but it affirms their narrative. It's a way of detaching themselves from a story. Like, they're trying to say that they've changed, they've reformed. Anna says she's no longer believes what she used to believe about people who are MAGA supporters, who are Trump supporters. But by doing that, they're applying a narrative that's not true to the people that they used to affiliate with, which is the people who are further along on the left side of it all. So anyway, here we go.
You think we're going to get put in camps? You sound all right. Anyway,
you think I sound crazy? They're starting with Chinese people. That's my fucking family, dog. Like, what are you talking about?
That's such an excuse.
This part.
Okay, they're going to start with Muslims. They're going to start with my people. Okay, if they start at all.
Yeah,
so stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable communities.
Yes, you are. You're using
I'm standing in front of vulnerable communities. James, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered, Franny.
By tweeting.
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. Well, when the union came forward, people making under $25 an hour for professional video editing in Los Angeles, I had been laid off, so I wasn't in the chunk that in the unit that came forward because I couldn't have been. But because I was involved in unionizing, it was because my rate was the lowest paid editor in the company at $21.63 an hour, with zero health insurance, classified as independent contractor, no days off paid, no paid days off, no bonus, no health insurance. I felt vulnerable as fuck, man. Not being able to go to see a doctor, not being able to afford if I got sick. Even if you do have health insurance, it's a nightmare to try to be able to get into a physician or to get health care. But you're more covered than when you don't. Then you have the privilege of having to battle the bureaucracy of these privatized government. That's what private health insurance is. It's privatized government. And you have to go to war against their phone systems and live in terror of the mail if you have health insurance. And I didn't have any because of this guy. I asked for help. His answer, changed my status to part-time, still working 40-hour weeks, still no health care. And he has the fucking temerity to tell the camera to talk to Francesca like this and say that he stands in front of vulnerable communities when he has people that come to work for him to help make him money to bring their talent to his company, and he'll let them be fed to the fucking wood chipper of the society. And TYT's run by a former health insurance executive anyway. The guy's LinkedIn is no longer public. It's in the film 30 in the middle chunk that you can watch. And they use employment practices that prevent people from having health insurance. Now, obviously, Cenk wouldn't have tackled me if I walked into an ER somewhere. He wasn't out making sure I didn't go into a hospital. But to him act like he cares about vulnerable communities, his own workers asked for help, and his answer was to increase the bullying. Clearly, I'm somewhat emotional about this story, as we all should be.
Eating at Elon Musk, please don't help me. Come on, Cenk. This is so sad.
I need to watch that. That's fun. I like Francesca's great. She's a stand-up comedian. I did it for like 6 years, basically, like 5-6 nights a week for 6 years. So I earned my stripes. I got out of boot camp. I did a show. The best I ever got as far as like high point was I did a show at Flapper. I hosted a bunch of stuff for Jimmy George at Flappers. I also used to host shows constantly in Chicago as well, and so I was pretty comfortable on stage. I had a lot of room to grow. I still had a lot of ways to get better. But I have the kind of brain that's good for stand up and everything else. Blah blah blah. But the high point for me was when Bill Burr came into the green room, and I got to hang out in a room with Bill Burr. He did a spot. He gets to drop in anywhere. If Bill Burr shows up at your comedy show, you're not going to be like, "Oh, dude, I didn't book you." Why would? No way, dude. He's Bill Burr. So I got to do a show that Bill Burr performed on, and I had a good set. I was part of that show. I know that's lame to real comedians who are now still out there doing their thing. But anyway, I understand Francesca's poise as a comedian, and not that that's like a big part of this, but that nothing trains your brain to think on your feet faster than being a stand-up comedian, than standing in the hot spotlight of a comedy club, and people are expecting you to be on stage. She's probably bombed a bunch. Nobody gets good who hasn't bombed either. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's I think why comedians have respect for each other. I hope, at least, it's certainly, I definitely do. Okay, let's keep going.
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered, Franny.
By tweeting at Elon Musk? Please, don't help me. Come on, Cenk. This is so sad. That's so sad.
Let's
take it down. Let's simmer down. No. Simmer down.
I love it.
I'm asking. Let me just ask you.
Dominance. She took over. She didn't let him take. He was trying to take charge, and she didn't allow that. That's actually the most important thing in stand-up comedy. Is the audience feels safe when they feel like you're in control. If you feel like if they get the sense that you're not sure how to lead them, they're gone. Unless, I mean, every show, there's always like kind of craziness because the group psychology is really, fluctuates a ton. I used to just love being in comedy rooms, watching the group psychology because it was always super interesting. But I love the assertion that she had there. She was not going to let him take over like there. That's really great. Love that. Love it.
Ask you real honest to God.
You already said 12 things that I need to respond to. Can I respond to them?
No, I want to
no.
Ask you this one question.
Of course not.
Let's talk about you going on these shows. Just simmer down. Let me ask you.
Okay, so go watch the thing. There's more here. We're going to jump way ahead now. They talk about it. They get into it a bunch. You can see the watch time chart, whatever those call the data down there. So we're going to jump over to the next one here. Let's see. Use the keyboard. Hell yeah. Now sorry, burp came up while I was talking. We talk about her feeling of being implicated in TYT and Cenk and Anna's shift to, pivot to the right. I'm always trying to think of a way to say it that is neutral. And also something else I think about too is like, what are their success metrics? Like when someone is doing something like this, they've already upset a ton of people, and people have parasocial relationships that are feeling frayed, and there's all kinds of reasons why different people who absorb TYT content or online sphere content at different stages, or when they got introduced to TYT, seems to be a big difference. People reach out to me. I mean, like comments on a lot of my videos and stuff, or in the documentary comments and shit, of their like kind of experience with TYT when they started watching and stuff like that. I'm fascinated to read those things. I actually get weird about the comments sometimes because I feel very vulnerable when I read them, when I'm about to read them. But so she, I forgot what I was saying. Fuck, God damn it! What the hell was I getting at? Shit, I just totally lost it.
What you're doing reflects on TYT as a whole, or on individual hosts at all. I personally feel
trying to come up with a neutral term. Yeah, I just don't. I don't want to mischaracterize in a way that makes my credibility. I don't know. I feel very compelled to try to maintain good faith, even as they're doing this whole pivot thing. Even as they're success metrics. That's okay. But I just tapped my headphones. In several months, in how quickly will things be, and how bad will they get starting next Monday? They're already getting terrible. They've been getting terrible since the beginning because the society's built on people having bad lives so that rich people can force them to do labor they don't want to do. But what metrics are they looking for that would make Cenk come back and say, you know what, I was wrong, it was a bad idea, I fucked up? Or what metrics will he come back and see, like, look, because he's got this whole thing, he got them to agree that like having 12 weeks off to hang out with your baby after you have a baby is good on like PBD and on Charlie Kirk, and he hangs his hat on that hook as if that's clear evidence that his strategy is working. By the way, when I worked for Cenk, and the contract is available if anybody wants to see it on balledontheinside.substack.com. Not the full contract, but the section of the benefits that says no benefits. So when he talks about how people deserve paid family leave, if I had had a baby during that time, I wouldn't have been able to take any leave. And it says no leaves of absence. It's explicit for 12 months. And we unionized to stop it.
Implicated by
all right, sorry, we got to roll up to that a little more. So back up 10 here. Now she brings up the implicated, and he does not like hearing this. This makes it, this really sets him off.
Reflects on TYT as a whole or on individual hosts at all. I personally feel implicated by a strategy that I do disagree with. Or do you think, well, I'm doing the right thing, so everything I do should reflect beautifully on everyone who works at TYT?
See, this is a way of getting me, like, saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. You're implicating me in a strategy I don't agree with. Well, but what am I supposed to do? Not do the strategy I believe in because it might implicate people on the network?
I think I'm asking for empathy. I'm just asking.
So he reacted with, "You're victimizing me. What am I supposed to do? Change things because I might." And this is dismissive of her feelings. This is completely erasing the story she just told. He didn't listen to her. He heard an attack. He took a criticism, and it felt like victimization, and he got defensive, and that's how he reacted. And this is why she answers with, I'm going to back up 5 seconds. "I'm just looking for empathy, dude." Because he could have said, "Oh my God, I'm surprised to hear that. Tell me more. Fill me in. I didn't expect you to say you felt implicated. Educate me. You activated my curiosity." Instead, she activated his defensive-ness.
Because it might implicate people on the network?
I think I'm asking for empathy. I'm just asking for empathy, Cenk. It's just being a little empathetic.
No, I don't think that's about empathy. I think what you guys are asking.
No, your request for empathy is untrue. "I refuse to allow authoritarianism on the left." It's just immediate dismissal of empathy. I wonder if he has any empathy for what I had to go through working for him for no health care, for no health insurance. And not just like the threat. He screams all the time about 68,000. Now he's finally using another term, 76,000. Maybe it's 74. There's probably some other study that came up with that number.
So we're all mad at, now I'm worked up. Now we're mad at Taylor Lorenz, we're mad at Haas, we're mad at all these other people for not having appropriate empathy or whatever the hell for United Healthcare CEO. I have the empathy, but where's your goddamn empathy for the 76,000 dead? Where is it, huh? I don't see any of it. Is anybody on TV crying? All the multi-millionaire anchors? Oh my God, your parents might die because they have cancer or this and they got denied coverage. They don't give a damn about the average person. Those crooked politicians that they cover for all the time, greedily taking the goddamn checks and go, yeah, go ahead, kill them, who cares? Who cares? We know what the better system is, but I want the corruption. I want the money, Lebowski. So I'm sick of them, and I hate that they have no empathy for the average person.
And so he acts like he cares. He acts like he understands the risks and how dangerous it is to not have health care and how scary that is and why he's been fighting for it. One of the reasons I moved across the country to work for the Young Turks is because I thought that I was going to help out with this cause. And I really had strong feelings about getting money out of politics and stuff. And yet he'll use employment practices where you're denied health insurance. Does he have any empathy for that? Does he have any empathy for what it's like to feel that disrespect? How fucking shitty that is to do to somebody just on a baseline. Like, would you treat a stranger with that much disrespect, but it's okay to treat a worker with that much disrespect? I think that's one of the fundamental things we've got in our world is we've all accepted this bullshit that workers just get to be treated like shit. You get to treat your workers worse than you get to treat strangers. People would call him out for that if they found out that some stranger got hoodwinked out of $500 out of Cenk. The 20 days off I didn't get paid for $3,460, and that's just one bucket of the wages that I earned that I didn't get paid. Is there any empathy here? Any empathy whatsoever? Of course not. We'll see a little bit later what he thinks about what about me. I know you've already seen it in this podcast, but we're gonna get there.
For, and this is why I'm not on the far left, is you're saying since we don't.
I'd like fart left, please. May I submit for consideration? Fart left.
Agree with your strategy, and your strategy implicates us. If you were empathetic and a good person, you wouldn't do your strategy. And I don't agree. I think my strategy is way better and will protect all of us much better. And so I'm not going to purposely do the wrong strategy because it implicates people on the far left. If you say, hey, I don't
I don't mean to speak for Francesca, but I my sense of the notion of feeling implicated is that she doesn't want to feel like her principles and morals are compromised by her affiliation and her association with an organization that is upholding right-wing framing and the dangers that flow from maintaining the institutionalized power structure of the right-wing narratives, because every single governmental institution and every single cultural institution and every single economic institution, I think I'm overblowing it a little bit, it's not every single, but easily there is a very strong institutional bias towards conservatism and towards the far right, because it's built to fundamentally, in a small c conservative sense, government is inherently that in that way. And I actually don't want to live in a world where democracy changes government one week to the next with wild fluctuations. Although I do believe Americans would accept more drastic changes for the positive, because we're all willing to accept horrible changes for the negative. We're all willing to let the world get worse real quickly. We could also definitely accept it getting better faster too. But anyway, not to be speaking for Francesca, and maybe someday if she and I have a conversation, we can talk about what it feels like to feel that implication. But he took it in an incredibly defensive way. Logic broed him into some weird flow chart where he said that this means you're saying I'm not, like, and it's just ridiculous. 5 seconds back here, we'll start again.
It implicates people on the far left. If you say, "Hey, I'm so implicated, I'm going to leave. This is unconscionable to me," as some did, great. I got no problems with it. Everybody makes their own choices, but I'm not pushing anybody out. You get this. Everybody gets to stay. Everybody gets to have their own opinion.
I did get fired. And again, you're allowed to fire people. This isn't necessarily to say I got pushed out, because I wasn't an on-air host. I wasn't somebody that would have been, in this kind of. Oh, sorry, friend. Bad pause here. Let's give her. There we go. That's better. I'm not saying I was pushed out, but like it was weird getting fired, because I thought that they might be confronting me. So I go in to start the job. I worked usually like 10 to 6. That was roughly my hours. If I did main show editing, it would be a little bit past 6. If there were some technical issues or some reason, I would stay a little bit later. That's why they paid editors overtime, because you never knew if you needed to stay late, because if you can't just get up and leave at 8 hours or at 6 p.m. if there's work that needs to be done, because they have contractual obligations. So it's one of the reasons I was on their team, on the company, in the editing department. I couldn't function as if I were an independent contractor, because it would have fucked up the company. It would have meant they would have had they would have disruption to their pipeline, and that would have caused massive contractual failure and huge problems for their delivery of their product to their distribution partners, right? So I just lost my, God damn it, I need ADHD medication so bad. But getting fired. So I went in 10 o'clock-ish, 10:15. I remember it being a better day. Like I was cruising. I felt like, because some days are better than others in terms of your flow. Working on a Francis Maxwell breakdown video, tap on the shoulder, HR lady, completely soulless person. And she asked me to come up for a meeting. This is January. I'd been secretly unionizing this place since like May or so, maybe June, if technically. I don't really quite. I decided to start trying in May for sure. But so I'm thinking, oh fuck, they're gonna fucking, if they, and so I'm like, well, if we'll see. I don't know what's gonna happen. Am I getting fired? Are they gonna confront me about something? Did they find out about the union? And I'm not a wilting flower. I can stand up for myself. I'll take the emotional hit later. It'll cost me. It'll hurt. It'll take a big bruise out of me. But I'm willing to fucking, torch my soul to do what's right. I barely could handle taking care of a fucking cat. these days have been pretty tough. But I'm walking up to this meeting thinking, if they say something to me about the union, I might, not that I would have blown up, but I'll yell back. I'm pretty good on my feet. Stand up, trained you for that. Plus I'm sort of built that way. But I also decided as I was walking that, and by the way, this is all happening while this lady's trying to have like friendly chit chat with me as I'm being frog marched to the little conference room outside Cenk's office. And I'm not sure what the hell they want to talk to me about. Feeling a little bit nervous, talking to this lady while strategizing all in my brain. What am I going to do if they bring up the union thing? So what I decided was keep your mouth shut and record details in your brain as much as you can so that you can tell the story with accuracy. It wouldn't have done my friends any good if let's say it was a union, if they did confront me about the union, it wouldn't have done any good for me to get into a big shouting match or into some kind of thing. That would have been not helpful or productive. It would have been exciting. It would have made for an interesting animation in the documentary for sure. But I also didn't know what they wanted, so I was just trying to decide what I had to do, because I was like, oh, this might not be good. And then it was 10:20, so that was about 11:15. So I'd been cruising on my edit for about an hour. Tap on the shoulder around 11:15. Meeting was about 15 minutes ish. Jack Gerard, the former health insurance executive at TYT, who's like the operations guy, who has also been acting CEO of TYT twice. He takes over for Cenk when he becomes a politician. He's also been quoted in some of the press things, and he's talked to journalists. I think he's in at least one or two of those articles as well. So he's a public figure in this story. Cenk should interview him about what it was like being a health insurance executive. I mean, he's got inside experience and stuff. He's sitting there, Cenk is sitting there, and the HR lady sits down, and they gave me this Cobra. It was just getting fired. It was paperwork. They showed me the offer for the severance, which required that I sign an NDA. I told them I wouldn't. I didn't say I won't sign it, but I said I'll take a look at this and maybe make a decision. Ultimately, decided against the $3,000, which was like a month. And I remember she goes, she said something like, "Oh yeah, this is at 35 hours a week, for 4 weeks, which is actually more than you've been working lately," or something like that. Because I had a couple of weeks in December that were a little bit low in terms of hours. In fact, here we are. We have all the hours right here. All the information is handy and available on baldontheinside.substack.com. So yeah, Francis moved, or like if Francis wasn't around, I wouldn't have work. It was also something I wanted from the union, was maybe some guaranteed minimums or something like that. But yeah, right here, the bottom here. So here we are in December. So there was a couple of weeks. This is a low hours week. I do recall being annoyed because my pay went way down for these few weeks here, where yeah, those Francis was gone, and yeah. So so it's probably true that my average for the weeks right before the firing was somewhere lower than 35 hours. But she didn't talk about any of these numbers. She didn't include it in that. In these 40-hour weeks, 40-hour weeks, 40-hour weeks. Look at, I mean, there's tons of weeks here. Here's a week that has 55 hours in a week. Average times. And these are all normalized for, the average column is the important bit, because that's what normalizes for whether you're part-time. And anything below 6 is part-time. Anything 6 or above is above their threshold of 30 hours for full-time consideration. So, yeah, so I just remember being like, really? You told me, you just said that? You said that that's higher than my average because of the couple of weeks here in December when Francis had more days off than usual. And he was traveling back and forth from New York to LA a bunch. So there would be travel interruptions sometimes and stuff. So, crap. Now what tab am I on here? Is this the one? I think so. No, it's this one here. Anyway, I'm getting fired. It wasn't about the union. I took it fine. I didn't say much. When they offered me Cobra, I laughed because it's fucking absurd to be like, oh, you can get like healthcare for way more money now that you have no income. I had barely saved any money. I don't think I saved anything, actually. I was making $21.63 an hour and I had rent debt. I owed my roommate some money. I was trying to get caught up on some of that. Somehow I look at the clock and it's like 12. It's a little after 11:30. And I don't remember how it came up, but like Jack made some kind of like little joke about how I had to be out by like noon or something. I think I said something, and he goes, yeah, well, you got like 23 minutes. Or he like did the math on the how many minutes were left until noon. It's very weird. I wish I could remember the words precisely, because I don't want to be wrong there. But so I got fired, and I left, and they asked if I had any questions. I took a moment and I said, I have a lot of questions, but I think it's best if I keep my mouth shut. Thank you. And when I stood up, I said something to Cenk. I wonder if he remembers what it was. Do you remember what it was, motherfucker? Do you remember? He goes, that's all we wanted from you. And he looked sad. He didn't look like he was having a fun day. They fired that day, laid off. They also laid off Francis, Brooke Thomas, and Hassan Piker. So they fired their 4 hottest people that day, which is really a loss. those three people, Francis, Brooke, and Haas, are gorgeous humans. And I would be just like, I'm funny. I'm tall and funny. Ha! We're all hot. They're really, all three of, oh my God. Why would they fire their hottest four people? Seriously.
A better high means customers pay more.
So they kicked me out. So I went to work at 10:15 and I was told I had to be out by noon. And I went to my desk and I gathered my stuff. I didn't talk to anybody. Actually, I talked to one person. I turned to the person next to me, who is a scheduling editor, who did scheduling for the editing department, like a sub manager or like the assistant manager. Really kind person, very, very talented at their job. And I said, I got along with nicely. And I said, hey, you're going to have to find someone else to do Francis's breakdown. And they were really confused. I'm like, what? I go, and I whispered it. I go, I'm fired. I overdid my lips so that they could read me, as I'm fired. And the look of surprise just completely caught off guard. Totally shocked. I packed up my bag and I walked out. I didn't say bye to anybody. That was the only person that knew. I think I went to the bathroom. That person came up to me and said something to, I'm just remembering it all. And I left. I didn't say bye to anybody. I still haven't seen my friends. I still haven't seen them since. And yeah, weird though, to go to work at like 10:15 and then be like told that you have to get out by noon. It's at will. They can fire you for whatever reason they want. But that's not necessarily being pushed out, because he's talking about forcing hosts off the air for their commentary and stuff. And yeah, and Francesca actually had Mondale on the other day, and they talked about TYT quite a bit. And I kind of see, it kind of seems to me that she's almost going like, well, I'll do what I'm going to say what I got to say. You can fire me, because he says he won't fire people for that. But they were very forthright, and the Mondale, her and Mondale are worth talking to. I might react to that eventually. But anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a diversion for the getting fired story. So yeah, just fucking weird, just odd. And to their credit, I got paid 8 hours for that day. Let's put that out there. Not, they did give me a full 8 hours of pay for the day I got fired. So at least I did get that. That bought me a few General Tso's orders. I really want that tonight. All right, let's go.
They get to have it passionately. They get to fight me on it. They get to fight everyone on it. They get to make their case. I can't do any better than being super open-minded and allowing everybody to make their case.
Except unionizing workers. They didn't get to make a case. He went and he rang the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Oh my God, my workers are unionizing. Hurry up, boys. Get over here, capitalists. Back up, monsters. He goes, I don't know how much he paid them. I don't know if maybe they worked pro bono. The NLRB cases revealed that they used two different anti-worker law firms, one of which is the same law firm that represents the AMPTP, which is the Hollywood boss cabal. It's in the movie. You've seen it. That you were, really, really terrible to the striking writers and actors strikes that were going on in those last years, who negotiate against across from IATSE. So when he says this, he doesn't mean the workers, though. He went and he called in reinforcements. I assume. I don't know. They should reveal that. I think TYT's audience deserves to know how much of their money went to those union busting law firms. That seems to be like a fair request. If I was still a paying member, I sure would want to know.
You say, Cenk, you shouldn't make your case because some of us feel implicated by it. Well, that's your problem, not my problem.
See, he just misrepresented what she's saying, per se. I mean, I guess you could argue she's trying to talk him out of it in a sense, but I don't think she's necessarily thinking she's trying to be persuasive, per se. I think she's trying to achieve some degree of being heard a little bit in order to illuminate what the audience is going to. Not that I should be trying to read too much what her intentions are with all that. But yeah, it's okay.
I mean, about that, I'm reminded of the book by I think his name is Michael Schneider on tyranny, and he wrote, it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say my strategy will protect us is he has this chapter, I'm going to bring it up, the first part of it, called Do Not Obey in Advance. And he writes, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech because I'm going to do it for you, or you don't have to come to me.
Cracking down. Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds, so you should stop.
Well, there was no coverage of the union busting. Clearly somebody decided that that story wasn't relevant enough. I think I'd call a cover up. Someone sent me an image, a screenshot of a Twitch moderator on TYT deleting a comment about the union busting. It wasn't an aggressive. It wasn't over the line in any other way, in any kind of way, like rude. You know, it wasn't like racist or just hate speech. It wasn't anything like that. It said something about the union busting. Deleted. Censorship. Now, did he tell that mod to do that? Was he watching over the mod's shoulder? Who did that? Who deleted it? Somebody had to give the order. I mean, somebody had to make it known that language was to be expunged. Any cracking down on that? Why is this topic not included in this assessment?
Your stupid opinion. And because you're implicating me.
I feel like there's a real.
That's what you're saying.
Cenk, I feel like there's a real misunderstanding of power in your mind, and I don't know why.
I think you're hiding behind this power dynamic.
No. I'm being totally honest.
Twice he's gone to. You're hiding behind. What is that? I wish I had gotten into more detail here in the power dynamic part, though. I thought that could have opened up a more interesting kind of vein here.
I am a contributor to TYT that I go on every time you guys ask. I step in a pinch often. Sometimes I don't.
You do.
I've been asked less and less as of late. Jordan has sort of eclipsed me. It's fine. I don't give a shit. But like I am but a mere contributor. I make very little money from this show. I'm really grateful to the people who support it. Again, you have founded the TYT. You've been the head of TYT. You're one of a stalwart in broader progressive left of center media discussions. What you do is far more impactful than what I do. I'm just being honest with you.
Okay.
You have a huge footprint. You have
it's a good thing I have the right strategy.
Like, she's right. She's totally correct. He does have a massive footprint. The guy does catch a lot of attention. I said it on a previous show. As I was making the movie, I was a little worried that TYT would fade into total obscurity by the time I was finished, because I was kind of like, oh fuck, I hope they don't go too far down the goddamn fog into the past. But as it is, the massive maelstrom around them right now, and their attempt to try to court right-wing audiences more, this whole thing, it does show to some degree. You could argue, you might disagree with this too, but there is some relevance to this, at least as far as it goes in this online world where everybody's addicted to their phones and their screens and the kind of parasocial relationships that emerge from it all. The consequence of us all being overwhelmed and unable to really access community offline. Not that there's zero, but but she's flattering his ego there, while also saying something true, and that he seems to have liked that. Similar to when she started the comment earlier about, I like this interview for a while. I like that you guys are sitting down. Like, she gave him some, and that's a good way to bring someone criticism. Just a general advice is ease into it with a little compliment. But clearly he took the flattery here, the ego stroking, and then immediately though takes it to, let's watch it again. Let me just watch to how quickly he accepts it. Clearly he likes to hear that, and she's not wrong. And but then he just sort of lashes out real quick. Almost right away. Back up 5 seconds.
You have a huge...
Wait, more, because I want to see 10 seconds back now.
What you do is far more impactful than what I do. I'm just being honest with you. You have a huge footprint. You have
it's a good thing I have the right strategy.
That.
And when you go
that little pause, the way she pauses and nods, just kind of like, okay. Yeah, Billy. Yep, you did. Yep, I like the way you threw that rock, like to a 4-year-old. Just like, yep, you did it. Although, if a 4-year-old wanted a flattering comment about a rock, I would give them that. I think 4-year-olds deserve to feel good for their rock throwing skills.
It's a good thing I have the right strategy.
And when you go on shows, and you go on stages, again, with Charlie Kirk, it looks like an apology tour. You
you're wrong
implicate,
about it.
you implicate not just everyone who's worked with you and everyone who is ostensibly on your side, but it basically makes it seem like it cheapens everything that we've done and we've built. That's why I can't sleep at night. That's why I feel sick when I see.
I relate to that too. You know, obviously I'm coming from a very different sort of this whole process has got me in a strange place with all of it. But like, I started working at TYT in 2013. I started paying them $10 a month. I don't remember when, but 2009 maybe. I remember having a conversation with Dave Kohler. We never looked it up, but I'm not sure if we could have found it. But I was either in the first 1,000 paying members or the first 1,200. I just remember talking about that with Dave a couple of times. I like Dave Kohler a ton. It really sucks. I wish he would, you know, yeah, I don't know. I wish there was a way that he and I could still be friends, because I really liked talking to Dave. Maybe we could go take autism tests to get together and go play tennis and play chess and talk about how much we like Chinese food. I like Dave a ton, man. We did those Friday post game. Well, okay. Anyway, so I played a role in building this audience. I played a big role in it, in a sense, meaning like more than someone who just came onto TYT off a Glassdoor ad, you know, 4 years ago or something. The money I paid for all those years, the role I played in TYT lore, the work I did for them, and I was very motivated, and I appreciate that Cenk gave me a shot, because my friend vouched for me, and I had to I felt this like a sacred duty to honor that vouch, because it was a big deal. Although for $3,000 a month for that first time period until the last few months when I did finally get a raise after I was doing most of the, not most, but main show publishing and other publishing, mostly primarily. I produced this big show at the Troubadour for them because I was the live performer guy. They knew I had stand-up experience. I used to like do stand-up shows and host comedy shows and stuff. So they assigned that to me. It was a huge success. Crazy long day. We'll talk about that again if I remember in a second here. I helped her. I mean, her. I'm thinking about Francesca. Like, I so relate to what she's getting at. Like that feeling of it being implicated, and that's sort of its own. For all the fans that are out there, all the people in the world that feel like there's some sort of loss that they're seeing from where TYT was once and is seemingly going now, they seem to be feeling this kind of anguish for that. A lot of people are not everybody. I mean, you know, this is a huge distribution, but for those of us that were on the inside that contributed our time and our talent and our labor to this company to try to build it for crap wages most of the time, it meant something. It means a lot that the company stood on its principles and that it would at least fight for the things that are right. And when you go on these when they're going on these right-wing shows and they're bringing peace offerings by having all these criticisms for the left and trying to distance themselves from the far left and the max left, and hopefully maybe we can persuade them to join the maximum Christmas left, which is what I'm trying to start. That it's a way of admitting to the right that we were wrong this whole time. What do you think those right-wing ears are hearing? Because right-wing people, like the way every audience, I don't mean it's about right-wingers, but like any audience can only process information through the matrix of which their consciousness has been conditioned, through the way that they're designed to understand power dynamics, the way that they're designed to make assumptions about different types of people or different sorts of people, or the way that they believe in a person's right to safety, dignity, free expression, agency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, into how that all folds itself into this world, and especially America's very, very distorted race supremacy that we are trapped in. And when you make this turn, when you're doing this, and you do it it's one thing to go out of your way to reach out to right-wingers, and I actually think it'd be kind of interesting if TYT just brought on like a show that was vaguely centrist or something right-wing or more. Like it'd be weird if they just suddenly brought on like a Glenn Beck. I'm talking about it in a different universe here, I mean. But like if you expanded the tent to include a broader ideology, and you did it because you wanted to try to gain an understanding and try to like lean into curiosity, that's actually totally acceptable. In fact, I had all these ideas I wanted to do as far as pitching a podcast network, like a more in-house produced or maybe remote. It probably would end up being a lot of remote work as well. But like I had a whole concept I wanted to try to like throw in for TYT if the union after the union stuff. I knew the union would be scary and intense. Then we would have our union. I'd get my pay would be bumped up to $24 an hour or something like that, which is fucking pennies, man. But I was hoping to maybe pitch stuff. And I was wanting to lean hard on like labor stories and labor issues and left-wing stuff, but a podcast network that included a variety of ideologies, and it meant that there was a forum for open discussion or even some contentious discussions with respect after the conversation. There's a place for that. But the way they're doing it is they're lopping off chunks from their friends, and they're insulting their people by strawmanning everybody that's behind that they're leaving behind by assigning the story. I don't hate you guys, but the people I no longer associate with do hate you guys. That's why I'm accepted in here. There's a reason Charlie Kirk gave him a warm welcome. There's a reason for that. And that is a way also, what the downstream effect of that is that it invalidates, and I don't think I'm not saying it actually does. I'm saying to the ears of all those chuds and those audiences, it invalidates and it affirms their belief that the left-wingers are full of shit and that they shouldn't be trusted or listened to. Even Cenk and Anna are now saying that their left-wing was wrong. Even Cenk and Anna now have, like, I see it constantly. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Cenk Uygur. These comments, tweet responses, Twitter engagements, retweets, comments in YouTube threads, comments on Reddit. I don't read a ton of the Reddit for that, but I do search Reddit for stuff. But it affirms their belief that even Cenk and Anna have come to their senses about how full of shit the left is now that they're coming over to our side and trying to make friends with us and trying and making nice with them. And they're getting love bombed in response. That's why he's so impressed with how welcoming they are, because he feels a lot of validation from them, because he's not forcing them to criticize him. He's showing up with criticisms of his former allies. And she's losing sleep about it. Man, Francesca, I've lost so much fucking sleep over my project too. Sorry, why am I like sneaking in notes? So this is going to be a 3-hour show. God damn it. I was hoping for an hour. The clips will be like an hour. I do like one podcast a month, but I do like a month of podcasting once a month. Anyway. So she's losing sleep at night. Let's back up 5 seconds and go forward. I'm just going to play all the way through to the big moment, because this is all sort of connected. I did have it set to jump over, but we'll just go
we've built. That's why I can't sleep at night. That's why I feel sick when I see you on these shows. Like, I'm just being, I guess I'm nuts. I guess I'm totally.
Even while I was working for him and not getting paid for days off, I cared so much that I did a good job. There was one day where I messed up and I put a corner bug in a video, in a little corner thing. I forgot. I goofed up. I was rushing. You know, it's easy to make mistakes. One of the reasons editing is one of those like office jobs that's not bullshit. Like, you actually have to fucking do it right. You can be smart and efficient. There's ways of being faster or slower, but because everybody looks at it, and so your mistakes get noticed. It's very easy to spot. And editors are probably harder on themselves. I see stuff in my videos that no one will ever notice. But anyway, but I put a thing on screen that I wasn't supposed to, because it goes through another process that adds the thing. So the video that went out had 2 bugs on top of each, like a little corner element. And I'm still bothered by it right now as I'm saying it. I wish I hadn't fucked up like that. And I'm sorry for doing that. One of the Judith Ben-Ezra said Ben Dixon's been using her name talking about her, and she's in the film as well, because Cenk turned over editorial control for everything but the main show to her when he became a politician during his congressional run. She brought it up to me, and she was cool about it. It wasn't like I had been doing it constantly and they needed to like deal with me, but she just pointed it out. I was like, oh crap, sorry. Oh fuck. And I'm still hard on myself for that. That one little mistake. Just a little duplicated corner thing. Who cares? Big fucking deal. I cared so much to do a good job. It was important to me. It was actually a matter of life and death for me to not lose my job. And I did a really good job. I'm a really fucking good editor. Even under all that disrespect. Even under knowing for an absolute fact that Cenk Uygur does not believe in his principles enough to live them, in terms of making sure that someone who works for him has health insurance so that they can at least have the same disrespect that he gave the other people. even under those conditions, I still cared to do a really good job. I still had to show, and it was so, yeah. Anyway, I'm starting to repeat myself.
Crazy, and I should just trust you and say, yes, we need you're doing the right thing. You're protecting us.
No, you don't have
but
to say
all
that.
I am doing is I'm filled with absolute despondency, like truly. And I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get
But I can show you more clips,
to
man.
agree with us on things we believe in and we've always believed in. And you go back to scratching their back.
At least the trains will
So
run
she's
on.
basing what she said there, she's basing it on what she's seen. That's why her answer was, I can show you more clips. But he's basing it on what he's saying. And he's frustrated that she is not accepting his statements about his story is based on what he is saying. And that's why he's like, I can't keep saying that I'm not actually doing it. But she is not accepting that because it contrasts with what she has seen. There's very much a tension here. And it relates to a thing I was kind of wanting to talk about that I'd said on Twitter about solidarity versus loyalty. And I think maybe I'll save that for a different time. But those two concepts that are in tension here that are about where the future of the left is going is, are we a loyalty based or are we solidarity based? And I think that we'll get back to that for sure. I mean, we'll just let that noodle around in our heads here because that's going to be something in the film. Is Cenk has no concept of solidarity. He is a dominance thinker. He went to school at the Wharton School of Business. I showed in last week's clip. Rick Sanchez asked him what's next for TYT, and his answer is, we're going to dominate. Ridiculous answer. He has to him, it's about control. That's why there's a sequence in the film about that from that Union Buster guy. And there is a form of, it can be very beneficial if you have enough control, if you have enough dominance. It's not like it's ineffective, but there's another form of social model relationships that is built around mutual interest and trust and looking out for each other and backing each other up, whether you agree with them fully or not. That's why unions can have a variety of ideologies within the membership. A lot of right-winger dudes who have blue-collar jobs that are in unions, they're hardcore Trumpies. There's a lot of that within the unions, but they have experienced the presence of solidarity. And because what I needed in order to see a doctor, because I tried asking this guy if it's okay if I have health insurance and pay days off, and his answer was, no, you can be called part-time. We'll change nothing. Except that you don't have to invoice us anymore. We'll give you that. But we're going to call you part-time. I needed his help. I was asking to alleviate the stress. And the only solution to that, because that was a dead end, was solidarity. The strength in numbers, the collective bargaining that comes from solidarity. And that actually, the only thing that kind of got me through that whole time, well, I mean, I would have gotten through it, I think. But it was that sense of agency, having a sense of I was doing something about it. It's pretty exciting to organize your workplace, by the way. I highly recommend it. Be careful, start slow. You got to be careful. You got to make this, you got to kind of, it's sort of cloak and dagger, you got to kind of pick people you're safe to talk to who aren't going to go blow your cover. You have to make decisions like that and stuff. But it's with your friends, with people. It's usually how unions start, and I also made sure during the early phase of talking to people. Remember, they had already tried a year prior, and Cenk's employment practices were more persuasive than anything I could have said anyway. So it's not like I needed to really talk them into it. I knew that they didn't like the position I was in, but I deliberately went out of my way to be like, so are we just talking? Is this are we just venting here, or are we serious? Because if we're serious, because I'm fucking serious, but are we serious or not? And yeah, we were. And that's a two-person conversation. And then after you do that, you go, well, who else should we start talking to? And we go, well, let's go talk to those. And then it's a four-person conversation. And then you have it again. Are we serious? Right? We're not screwing off, are we? Yeah. Okay. Because it's good to vent. It feels better. It feels good. You feel a little bit of relief just talking about maybe doing it. But if you're serious, you got to really be clear about it. And then you escalate. Then you bring it in more. You start researching the union. I mean, maybe you look up the unions you might join first or whatever. There's all sorts of guides and stuff on the internet too. And then we communicate. Don't do it on company communication either, by the way. But solidarity versus loyalty. He doesn't understand solidarity. He could probably, hear that and get all upset because I'm mischaracterized. I know I myself. I've heard that word. But the guy doesn't get it. He doesn't. His whole fucking career right now, everybody's watching, is him flailing around trying to figure out how to best keep his company afloat. He's got a lot of overhead. That's very scary. It's a lot, man. And that's one of the reasons I actually very much hesitated about this project, is because I know a lot of people who work at TYT. I don't have it out for TYT. I want the company to thrive. I want those people's jobs to stay. I want Cenk to continue to offer space for people to get media practice and to add. And I mean, like politicians who come on for interviews and stuff like that. You know, I don't know where they're going to end up from all this these days, but I hope they find a place that keeps the lights on and keeps the bills paid. They have a huge overhead. There's a lot of workers there. But he has no concept of how much fucking power he was sitting on in terms of talent and energy and loyal and behavior. Because loyalty can exist within a solidarity model. They're not mutually exclusive. You're loyal to your friends. But the way a boss like him thinks you're supposed to be loyal, you know, he showed there was a tweet that I showed in the last, I keep referring to the last episode for some reason, but like, referring to how he gave opportunities to people and they've reacted by attacking him and showing no decency or gratitude, as if he's the one who's supposed to be on the receiving end of your gratitude in return for his beneficence. He's a job creator. Aren't you lucky that you got to be within the sphere? Aren't you so ungrateful, you ingrates, for not showing? That's a person who wants loyalty. You can buy loyalty. You can intimidate people into loyalty. Those mafia guys, you could probably call that a form of solidarity, but they'll just fucking murder each other too. There's a sort of loyalty enforcement that comes from that. But solidarity is not the same as loyalty, as a model, as a starting model, as root code. And the only thing stronger than these people, than capitalists, and this is why they have an entire centuries-old system of keeping you feeling divided and scared and hurt and afraid and tired. The only thing stronger than those motherfuckers is solidarity. We brought Cenk to heel. We brought him to fucking heel because of solidarity, because of collective bargaining. And he has no concept of it. Not at all. They don't teach it at Wharton School of Business. I kind of want to do, if I had more of a Michael Moore, like gumption in me, meaning like showing up with a camera somewhere, I think it'd be fun to go to Wharton and then like try to teach classes like as a prank, or maybe even like try to pitch it to them that I'll be the guy. I want to teach a business class called "Don't Do What Cenk Uygur Did." don't be this stupid. Of course, then you'd be just like serving the masters by just being like, here's how if you run a company where you attract lefties, which is what his company does, just like Daily Wire, you know, like I keep saying, if you don't want your workers unionizing, be the Daily Wire. But you run a company that attracts people who believe in unionizing, and then you give them all kinds of reasons to unionize, and then you're surprised that they unionize? Deep breath, microphone pull, play.
Time.
No. So let's end on this because this is monumentally important. So I say everybody's allowed to have their opinion. You say when I have my opinion, I'm hurting other people. But do you hold on?
You're hurting a broader movement, yeah.
Hold on. Do you not get that privileges your position and says my position is obviously the correct one and the moral one? And since you have the incorrect immoral one, you are implicating me in your immorality and your wrongness. So you really shouldn't do that, because that's being immoral to me and other people who agree with me. Because since you're so obviously wrong and immoral about this, you're implicating me in your immorality.
With great power comes great responsibility. That's what I'm saying.
It is definitely the correct position.
Uncle Ben, everybody. Uncle Ben. Google the phrase Uncle Ben. Peter Parker. Car scene. Maybe they were on a train. I don't know. Maybe they were sharing a tandem bike. Listen up, son. I mean, you're my nephew, I think. I don't know. Why are you living with us? You're just some... With great power comes great responsibility. And that's what she's saying here. We'll back it up a little bit, though. The logic twists here are a bit difficult to unpack, and I'm not even going to say I fully have it. Watching her kind of do her thinking look up, because that's also where I'm like, what the heck? Like, it's now he's adding this whole thing of you're calling me immoral, and therefore you're saying you're privileged by saying you're claiming the high ground on the morality, and therefore I'm wrong. So Let's back up like 10 or 20 seconds. Sorry if this is kind of tedious. I'm a little blocked by this logic puzzle here. So we're backing up like a good 50, 60 seconds, whatever. Here we go.
Scratching their back.
At least the trains will run on time.
No. So let's end on this because this is monumentally important. So I say everybody's allowed to have their opinion. You say when I have my opinion, I'm hurting other people. But do you hold on?
You're hurting a broader movement. Yeah.
Hold on. Do you not get that privileges your position and says my position is obviously the correct one and the moral one, and since you have the incorrect immoral one, you are implicating me in your immorality and your wrongness.
She's making it very binary there too, with like just saying you're correct and moral, and that means you're saying I'm immoral and incorrect, and then you say you are implicated in my immorality.
So you really shouldn't do that, because that's being immoral to me and other people who agree with me, because since you're so obviously wrong and immoral about this, you're implicating me in your immorality.
So all you're doing is defending people you already agree with. I think that's what he's saying. Am I wrong? Am I right? I don't know. But then the way she reacts, though, she's about to say the famous Peter Parker line from the Tobey Maguire hit film Spider-Man, that what she's actually trying to get to is that he is not upholding his responsibility to those with whom he has stood shoulder to shoulder in battle for all these years over. The implication now is that he's got you by his side, meaning like when she uses the phrase I'm implicated, is that now you're standing there all these years next to him, and suddenly he starts just making peace offerings to the right by attacking the people on his own side and pointing out all the ways that they're causing everything, all the problems. That the online left has way more cultural power than that's the only thing he pointed at when she said, "Do you think the left has power?" It's just ridiculous that they think anybody on the left has power. The only thing, the reason the left has power is because capitalism is so fucking horrible. People eventually figure out that, hey, we could make things better. FDR is by far the most popular. Okay, let's let that go. And so his whole argument here is it's like he's operating on a completely different matrix of comprehension. He's just breaking it into these binary toggle switch kind of thing, off and on, instead of acknowledging that he has a responsibility to protect the people who have been backing him up all this time. I think that's kind of right. Sorry, Francesca, if it's not. I'm sorry. I love that you're tall, and I want to hang out with you and Matt someday so we can have a conversation. All the four of us. You're tall baby, you and me and Matt. Sorry. Tall baby is a very funny phrase.
With great power comes great responsibility. That's what I'm saying.
It is definitely the correct position.
I'm saying with great power comes great responsibility. I'm giving you.
I'm so accepting, but you've gone off the reservation and you've gone rogue, Cenk. So now it is your fault.
So he's feeling constrained. He's feeling like at least he's characterizing it that way, that you're trying to control me. You're trying to. It's your fault for all the problems because you're trying, like, the way she look at her hands. That's so. Oh, the body language is just almost like all you really need to see in this whole interview. I got to back up a little bit. I know we're taking forever to get through this, but I just marinating in it, trying to get puzzling through is, and then we'll get going more and get to the big moment.
You've gone off the reservation and you've gone rogue, Cenk. So now it is your fault for implicating the beloved far left, who are clearly have the correct position, but you really don't have the correct position. And you don't represent the left. So please stop pretending you represent the left when the voting and the polling clearly showed you don't. And it's not wrong to be center left. You think that it's like center left is like, no, it's, I don't know what you think it is, MAGA or whatever. But you want to talk about the power
I said it's Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi having a baby, Cenk. I think ultimately you.
Hello, Nancy. Would you like to come over and have a baby? Yes, Bill. I would love to come over and have a baby with you. Well, Nancy Pelosi did his podcast, Club Random. By the way, just a quick shout out. Franny does. Why am I looking over here now? Francesca does a great, because I had decided that Nancy Pelosi was it's called object work, guys. I took an improv class once. But she does a really great Nancy Pelosi, by the way. She's big tops. Easily West Coast top 100 Nancy Pelosi impersonator for sure. 100%. 5 seconds back more.
I said it's Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi having a baby, Cenk. I think ultimately you just need to embrace your centrism, my guy. I think you're just more of a centrist than you think.
Like I just explained it, but you don't want to hear it. I said it earlier, Franny. I'm not talking about the disgusting centrism of Manchin and all of that the mainstream media lied to us and called centrism. That's
like people that might like present a set of principles that they don't live by. That kind of centrism. That thing there, Cenk, buddy boy.
What's wrong with Manchin? Manchin works with both sides. He's a perfect example of what you're doing.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Manchin is the establishment. The fact that you can't see the difference between a left-wing populist who despises the establishment,
who's a right-wing populist,
who loves and is the establishment,
who's a right-wing populist,
you can't see that difference is stunning.
Who's a right-wing populist? Who is a right-wing populist? Name him. Who's a right-wing populist?
On Patrick Bet-David show is definitely a right-wing populist. Dan Holloway.
Vinny from Patrick Bet-David. He's been on Piers Morgan with him a few times, and he's been on that show 2 or 3 times at least. So they probably had beers together. So yeah, I mean there is a little bit of variety of opinion on the Patrick Bet-David show. The show, the Valuetainers, who broadcast out of a literal bank vault. So, Vinny from Patrick Bet-David. Sorry, oh my God.
Drinking Bros is definitely a right-wing populist.
Vinny on PBD thinks that the Biden administration blew up the bridge in Baltimore.
He does. That's right. Because they're not saints and they don't agree with us.
Who's a right-wing populist in office? Who's a right-wing? Is it Matt Gaetz? Who's your right-wing populist in office? Is it Marjorie Greene?
I think Mumra counts. Mumra dispatches minions to affect world domination and terror across the land. Fortunately, a group of raggedy miscreants battle back.
The new right-wing populist is absolutely clear. And see, guys, before I say the name, I know what's going to happen after I say the name. You're going to think of all the bad things he said about social issues. And you're going to think, oh my God, Cenk likes this guy. That's why I now hate Cenk. So I'm telling you, ahead of me telling you the name, no, I do not agree with him on the social and cultural issues, and I will fight him as hard as I possibly can on those. And I don't think that he's...
I hate solidarity. That's Mumra. That's Mumra being upset about the Thundercats coming after him.
Right on all the economic issues at all. But he has begun to be populist because he stopped taking corporate PAC money. Josh Hawley in the Senate. That is now a right-wing populist. Tom Massey.
I don't think that's true, by the way. I think Majority Report actually covered that a little. I think if you look up Josh Hawley's, sorry, I'm not going to do it, but I saw somebody do exactly what I'm saying. Like they looked up his, I think it was Riverboat Jack on a stream, I believe. But it was all just like corporate donations through PACs and stuff. I don't know why I think, maybe there's a reason to look into that a little bit closer, but Thomas Massey, he just said.
Being populist, okay? Those guys, Massey, you could say 1,000 terrible things about him, but he is honest. Everybody knows he's honest. He's honest to a fault, right? He says some things, I'm like, whoa, that's freaking great.
Everybody knows is very Trumpian narcissist communication. That's don't let people manipulate. I probably do it occasionally. I think people do it, but like when you go, oh yeah, I love egg rolls. Everybody loves egg rolls. It's like, no, but you're trying to appeal to your like innate sense of consensus that your community brain wants to hear. So Trump says that constantly. Nobody ever heard that oceans are salty. Nobody ever knew that. He'll say crazy stuff like nobody ever, like he'll just assign a collective opinion to his thing. So don't fall for that bullshit. If you hear people doing that, I mean, a little here and there, I think that's okay. But like, keep an eye out. That's one of those like you're being manipulated type of communicators.
Right? But are they actual right-wing populists? Yes, they are. And the number one way you could tell if someone's going to be a populist is if
everybody knows bald men make great husbands. Everybody knows. As if like that's my goal is to be someone's husband. I want to be several people's husband. I want 7 wives, and I want to have 7 pizza ovens, and we have very nice backyard hijinks with our pizza and our. One of them's into crystals. Well, we'll be supportive. It's fine.
If they stop taking corporate PAC money.
Okay, I accept that. I accept that. I just want to say lastly, I worry about our relationship because I mean, I don't have to like we may grow distant, you know what I mean?
She almost said like I don't have to work for this fucking place. But she changed it to grow distant. I'm over reading, but yeah.
I'm trying to delve more into my show. I still love going on John's show and Dr. Richie's show. That's in the TYT.
Hey, need an editor? Need it? Let's work something out. Come on. I'm desperate for money.
Network. This show is on the podcast network of TYT. You know, it's there's no money that really exchanges hands. You guys do help me with the podcast hosting, so I appreciate that. So I may owe y'all money. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm just being honest.
Saying I may owe you money means like if I leave, I might owe you money. Like sort of anticipating getting a bill for leaving. I think you know.
Like
you don't know anybody.
But you know what I mean. I'm being honest about what our arrangement is. But I worry because, you know, we were but 5 minutes into this conversation and you said Emma Vigeland likes the establishment and it doesn't matter what she said. It doesn't. Hang on.
I need to find that. He's been saying that Sam Seder said Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. Right, this is a video I meant to play earlier.
Oh, Nazi, 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 Nazi. It's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, no. Oh, Nazi, 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 Nazi. It's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, no. Oh, Nazi, 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 Nazi. It's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, it's not, no. Oh, Nazi, Nazi, Nazi.
Oh shit. So that's something I was going to play earlier. I forgot. Yeah. So this is the Emma. I want to find that quote. I guarantee it's taken out of context. I guarantee there's some nuance to it. Even if she said, I like the establishment, like, what is that? That is so bad faith to assign that to Emma. I feel defensive in a sense. I feel, well, I hope she doesn't feel like it's patronizing or something, but like, I consider Emma, I only met her once very briefly when she was at TYT. Because I was about to edit one of her videos, I just talked to her for like a second or two. And yeah, but it's just, and I can tell, I think Francesca sort of probably shares my feelings about that a little bit.
It's not a crime.
And I'm sure she knows Emma much closer than I do. All right, so we're back to the right spot. I had the wrong spot ready, but here we go. We're resuming just after he had said something about Emma Vigeland claiming to like the establishment, which again I'm very dubious and skeptical of that claim. Nevertheless, whatever it means, it's such bad faith. It's so gross. Anyway, keep going. We're getting close. We're almost at the good part. We're almost at the big moment here. Remember, you saw it at the beginning of the podcast, but the face he makes when he hears my name. Oh man, must be a real horrible guy, this old hanky-panky boy.
It's not about what she said, but it is concerning that there are so many former TYT employees, and let's put Dor and Ruben aside, but people like Ben Dixon and Emma Vigeland, and even longtime contributors who were editors like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that, you know, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such.
Look at this.
I'm just saying. I'm
Use
telling
your words, Cenk. All he has is a guttural reaction, a scornful laugh. That hurts though. Like all these years, I still feel this in my heart. Like, man, geez. Not that I need his respect. I couldn't possibly respect the guy less. And in saying that, I still approach this whole story and my obligation to not mislead the audience and not provide context and try to overly throw in, start from a place of generosity in terms of good faith, or at least a good faith attempt to find everything I could, and to why the film took so long to work on too. Not to mention it's just agonizing to just fucking marinate in this shit for so long. But to him to just laugh like that but he's a great guy. But let's back up. So, it's just so fucking crazy, man. I'm just picturing myself leaving my dad's house with my buddy who's going to help me drive across the country. And I cried because I was going to miss my dad. And that I never would have predicted that this is where things would end up. This whole story, because all I wanted to do was keep my job so I didn't go fucking crazy. I'd been suicidal before. I was in such a dark place during all those years and during this time, and I was so grateful to have a fucking ability to pay my bills and to pay a little bit back of the debt that I owed my roommate at the time, and that's all I cared about. And I didn't deserve to feel all that stress. I shouldn't have to splay open my autistic open wound to justify why I felt like I deserved to feel safe in my life. And I unionized my workplace because I believed in the principle of fairness that he argues for. He doesn't believe it. And this is how he reacts when he hears about me, because I am not willing. I do not consent to him having control over the story. It's not his story to tell. I feel bad enough that I've taken assertion over the story in terms of the other people who work at TYT, who are in the union, I mean. And that's why I focus, this whole project is generally focused on the origination, because that's my thing. That's the part I played, as well as the others too. But, so what is it? What is, okay. So he says he helped nothing, and then he laughs at me being a good guy.
These are
that's him laughing about me. That's him laughing at me.
How I'm
at the idea that I'm a good guy. I appreciate that so much, though, that she actually brought it up, because this took a ton of courage for her to do that. This is she knows that this was the topic they didn't want to hear about. If I ever get to talk to Francesca too, I want to ask her as well, like, what did you think at the time about the union? Like, I really want to finally, after this gets more legs and people start coming forward and we start having more conversations, what did you believe at the time? Because I will be asking people basically to admit how they got hoodwinked, and that might not be a very safe feeling. But I want people to feel safe expressing that, because that's the whole point of this film. And in fact, when we get to the Haas portion of this 19-hour podcast, we're going to see how effective the misinformation was. Haas doesn't have any fucking idea what happened with this union. He told a completely incorrect version on Sean O'Brien's podcast. That's the president of the Teamsters.
They actually did unionize the producers, but that was after I had left. But
and they're both, I think Haas has an obligation to correct that. But anyway, it's not his fault. He's ignorant, and it's really difficult to break through the clutter. But it took her so much for her to. So I don't know if she how much she knew, but she started following me on Twitter a little bit after things blew up in December, after like the Emma Vigeland post. About the union busting law firms and stuff. So we're going to back up here, obviously. And I have a bunch of stuff to show you. We're going to read my performance review from that year. Cenk says, I helped nobody. Listen.
Guy and Emma.
Back up a little more, 5 seconds.
With nothing.
He helped with nothing. Back up a little bit here. Bring it up again. Watch the barf face. Again, like I said earlier, it is a shame that he didn't literally barf. If chunks just burst out of him, or overwhelmed him and came out the nose, that would have been fun. That would, and this is going to be in the movie. This is absolutely going to be in the film. One thing, by the way, just real quick side note, I'm not in charge of how this movie ends. That ain't up to me. It's a documentary. Okay, let's listen to Francesca.
Longtime contributors who were editors, like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that
imagine making that face about a guy who you hired and you had him called part-time while he worked 40 hours. And then you lied about him. You lied about him and his friends to an audience, to a big audience that he helped build, that he was a part of and took pride in the success. And that level of disrespect, and he stood up to it. And he used age-old human power of collective organizing. I needed solidarity because I was helpless by myself. I had no leverage. My weakness was Cenk's strength, because he's a coward. He's a capitalist. The reason they're strong is because they built a world where you're weak. What was I going to do by myself? I asked a lot. I brought it up to the department manager a lot. But you can only bitch so much. You can't just go into work every day and be like, hey, this sucks. Why can't I get health care? Why can't, I would go in and do my job. I'd go in and get the work done. And this is his feeling. I'm sure he feels threatened. He's backed into a corner. He knows that the minute he says my name, the minute my name comes up again, which it will, the movie's going to be brought up to him at some point. I'm sure they're already aware of that. I imagine they might have even already hired a crisis PR firm. I'm the person they should fucking hire. Nobody has more wisdom to offer than me in this whole thing. I know exactly how Cenk can get out of this puzzle he's in. That might even be in the movie eventually. But this is the way he feels about somebody who lived the principles that his audience believes that they support with their money. I just wanted to see a doctor. I was so fucking stressed out. and I didn't deserve to be lied about, and neither did my friends. So let's keep going. And when he says helped, we're going to look at some stuff.
You know, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
He helped with nothing. All right, let's see what I helped with. Let's look at the stuff I worked on during that year that I worked there. Here's what we did. When I worked at TYT, I was assigned to, so remember, I helped with nothing. Now, listen, Cenk was having a moment. He was overwhelmed with emotions. His brain was flooding itself with a cascade of panic feelings and emotions and electrochemical signals. So let's give him some grace that people can often misspeak while they're under duress. And certainly hearing my name almost made him vomit. And then she said I helped with the union. And he says I helped with nothing. So apparently he doesn't really grasp the idea of labor, of being someone's labor producing value for your enterprise. As I said earlier, I had produced this is in the first iteration. I'm not going to go over every single goddamn thing I did at the company, but I remember cleaning the earwax off the fucking IFB's things so that Cenk could have a clean one to put in his fucking ears when I was there during those first years. I did equipment and stuff. Then I did a whole bunch of other things. I remember thinking I probably had skills I could put to other uses than moving cameras around and stuff, but I was learning. I was grateful, and I never complained about it. But as I said earlier, I was assigned to this troubadour show, this big event. God, I can't even remember. I'm trying to even remember what the hell they called it. I edited this promo package for it. Went to the place, scouted the location, met with the booker, did a whole bunch of stuff. It took a ton of work. And then the day of, it was this massive event. And Cenk got to experience being the star of the show. I remember how proud he was. And he wanted to get all these survey questions from people. Me and Malcolm Fleshner walking around to audience outside, having people fill out paper, like little cards that have questions on them because he wanted to ask questions. And then he did this whole thing where he walked around in the audience and got to be the star of the show. Anna did a really great job, actually. She was on stage. They weren't all used to being on stage, but and they'd been on other stages too. But Anna did great. The show was a big success. It was huge. It was a long day. That took I remember that day was I remember doing the math the day after. It was a 17-hour day. And one of my roles at the time was uploading the Hulu data. They uploaded some information or some of their videos to Hulu, and I had to get it done by a certain time, and it was usually later in the day. And that day's Hulu data had not been uploaded. Now, I failed to account for someone else maybe doing that day. I probably should have done that in terms of prepping for this whole thing. But after a 17-hour day getting that whole show done, I went and I uploaded the Hulu data to make sure I didn't miss that, to make sure I held up my obligation. 17 hours. I don't even think I got a bonus for any of that. Maybe I did. I don't remember. The pay was horrible back then. $3,000 a month. So that was one. But anyway, so real quick, though, a couple of things that I contributed to TYT. This is from baldontheinside.substack.com. The article titled, if you want to see the top of it here, behind the facade, why we unionized at the Young Turks. A boss who treats his employees poorly is the graphic on screen with green text. So I gave my best. I worked my ass off at the company. One of the things I did was this thing called TYT Academy. Took a ton of work. I was grateful for the hours. It was the kind of thing that I was very good at. It was like explainer videos. I'd been doing Francis and Hassan breakdowns and stuff, and this is not complicated editing. I actually have some critiques of how it was produced. Could have been maybe perhaps slightly more better, but I worked my butt off along with the other people. It wasn't just me, just to be clear. It's not like I was the only one assigned to it. And it was basically, it was like a journalist training course for trying to teaching local citizens to do journalism and to become muckrakers and to start contributing to their community and to try to sort of, and that's, I think, a good thing. It was some sort of deal here with YouTube corporation like Google to launch this thing. And it was written about in Axios. The fuck is this? Articles are free. What the? Get it? Oh, God damn it. Reload. Okay. Scoop. YouTube to fund launch of the Young Turks local. Oh, motherfucker. Are you kidding me? The Young Turks, one of the largest progressive digital publishers on YouTube, is receiving funding from Google-owned YouTube to launch an online course called TYT Academy. That focuses on the creation of digital-first local news. Sources say the investment is in the mid-six figures range. Now, they didn't show me any financials. I have no idea what they received in terms of income for the company to devote company resources to this project. Company resources, I'm pointing at. The editor was probably the main expense because that's just the most amount of hours. You just got to slog through all the videos, put it together, make it look good. And but they also had to pay for the scripts that were written and filming and the electricity and equipment, overhead, even depreciation. I went to business school too, dumbass. And it was a big deal. We had a bunch of meetings. It took a long time. I was able to fill in some hours. I was really, like I said, I was really glad to have have the time on my time card because I didn't have any guaranteed minimums. And they were hoping to like attract people who would be interested in this video series and would then become, maybe launch media careers or maybe launch their own independent media journalistic stuff. I think that's all really healthy stuff, but mid six figures. I was making $21.63 an hour for zero benefits when I worked on this. I think it's like $865 a week. So for 2 months, let's just call it like 2 months of pay. It took more than 2 months, but like, let's just say 2 months of pay. I think actually probably less than that, but call that 8 weeks. Let's call it 9. No, 8 weeks is easier to do the math. 8. So 6,000. So I probably was paid like 7,000 ish. Maybe if it was more time, well, $8,000 or $9,000 in wages to me. If we're talking about a full week of work at 40 hours a week at $21.63, it's $865, I believe. My contribution to this project was enormous. And for that, it was, let's just round it up to $10,000. Do you think they had the money to pay for that off of this $500,000? What is mid six? 350 to 650? How do you know? 500? Did they have the money for the editor? Maybe they could have afforded to pay. During this time, I had Labor Day off. Other people got money. I didn't. Cenk kept my $173.04. And he says I helped with nothing. He says I helped with nothing, he says. It even links to the video. Tell me if you think this video editing style looks familiar to you.
And welcome to TYT Academy. I hope that the Young Turks are known for speaking truth to power and getting to the core of national stories that affect people every day. And we do that primarily through the power of digital media. However, local news has almost no digital video presence. Today, local news videos online are just chopped up clips from local TV news broadcasts that are posted online without much consideration for the specific demands of the digital ecosystem. There's a massive void in the area of digital first local news. That's why we're calling on you to redefine local news. Just as Anna and I cover news at the national level.
Does that look similar to anything you've seen from me?
We believe there are smart, passionate people who can do what we do at their local level. Now, to that effect, we started the TYT Academy to give you the tools to make local news great. TYT Academy is a 2-track program, 1 track for journalism and the other for digital video production
3D.
And publishing to train you to cover local news effectively.
I remember lining that up. It was a little bit tricky.
Hold
on, it gets better.
And collaborations with other news outlets. Now, each track will have approximately 8 classes.
That looks nice.
With short quizzes at the end and culminate with a final exam in the same way that the YouTube certification.
Honestly, I think I could have moved those closer to the center now.
Now, best of all,
I think there might be a little bit more, but like, oh yeah, this part. I totally forgot about all this. Watch.
And we want to do our part to amplify the best voices out there. TYT Academy is excited.
Look at Haas. Nice of Haas to sure dress up for it. Oh my God, Sam Cedar did one. That's right. That's funny. I forgot. That's Brooke Thomas. That's Hasanabi. Francis Maxwell's not here. And like I said earlier, they fired the 4 hottest people at the show. What I'm saying. Wow, I forgot Sam did one of these.
He's excited to help remake local news with a new generation.
Does that look like my kind of editing? Yes, of course, because I did that. That's my work. And that link is linked through this Axios article, by the way. That's why I have that unlisted. It's not like I had that one bookmarked. I don't know. So it seems like the $500,000 you guys got. That of course, there's all expenses. Not saying I was the only one, but my contribution was legion. Yet he doesn't consider that to have been help. Seems kind of weird. Another thing I did there, I designed the Bernie Sanders Medicare for All t-shirt, which they were using all the way up till recently. I think they probably heard me talking about it and decided they couldn't use it anymore. I don't know. Like, it's a good commercial. What the fuck? You guys used it for like 5 years. Keep using it. What are you stupid? It's a really good commercial. It had to have been working. So I recall this was around the time that Bernie, well, here I even say it right there. This was around the time that Bernie had his heart attack, which gave me the idea. And since I had a few hours to kill, I hit screen record and followed my instincts. It took 6 to 7 hours altogether over a few days. So I like recording Photoshop. I kind of like those fast forward Photoshop things. And if you've seen the commercial, they were playing it on their live stream. That's me drawing it. It's me going through the whole thing. And actually, I kind of wish I did another pass on the hair. I feel like I could have done maybe just a slightly better job on the hair. But heart with a Band-Aid. Bernie Sanders is in the hospital. This is when AOC came out and endorsed him. And so these are screenshots from that commercial. And I remember making this swoopy bit here for the Medicare for All for the Shop TYT logo. After I screen recorded this, I just got to work on the commercial. I turned it into this really nice commercial. I picked out the music that's in there. In fact, I even remember making these glasses on purpose because first I did them and then I realized I didn't really like how they looked on the heart. They look a little dorky, but I knew that in the fast forward, seeing those glasses, blip into the fast forward and then go away would sell the Bernie thing for those that didn't quite click that this was supposed to be Bernie, right? And it clearly does look like with the glasses definitely makes it seem more like Bernie. Maybe a couple more passes on this or something, but it got sent off to the graphics department. They sent it back. I actually didn't like that it was a way too proportionally, it was too big for the shirt. So I said, hey, could you just like make it like 20% smaller? Just cut it down. Like, you don't want it to be outside. I don't like shirts with huge logos. I just find that as a taste thing, kind of a little bit busy and big. Like if it's past your nipples, you're doing too much. So they made this shirt. And then they used this ad to sell their show, the shoptyt.com. And the shirt still sells for $28. Did Cenk make money off the 7 hours or so that I got paid for making that? Now, I'm not saying this because I think I deserved a cut of the profits. I mean, they could have had some sort of program maybe to incentivize people, or maybe like, oh, look, cool, this shirt's really selling really well. Here's $200, or here's a gift card for Adele. Go to Best Buy and get yourself the latest Adele album. I would have totally done that. I'm not saying that they owed me money for that. I got paid for the hours it took, and they own the property. They own everything. It's not mine. I don't have any claim, and that's not what I'm saying here. I'm just trying to say, though, that considering that they used that to sell their shop for all these years, it must have made them some money. I didn't have health care. I didn't have health insurance during that time. The guy who made the Young Turks Medicare for All t-shirt did so while he was secretly unionizing because I didn't have health insurance under my second classification. Was this a help, Cenk? Do I need to pay Cenk back for the free shirt that they gave me? Gonna send me a bill for that? There, tough guy? Huh? $28. I can't afford that. No fucking way. They gave me a free shirt. It's in the drawer somewhere over there. It's actually a nice shirt. I actually really quite like it. Did that count? Was that any kind of help? The Thanksgiving special. I was so proud about that. I don't even know if it's still online. It's really funny. I did that, and I'm really grateful that they let me put my own kind of comedy charm onto it. In fact, Judith told me once, she goes, I'm so glad you're making this. I'm so glad you're the one doing it because of the comedy stuff. And she said something along those lines because she sat with me a little bit and looked at it. And her notes were actually really effective. I think that her decision to do a big switch on it was a smart choice. It helped the piece for sure. I turned 40 during that time around Thanksgiving. And I remember being there on my 40th birthday, completely alone in the office till about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, because this was a huge lift. It's like an hour-long thing, and I just spent my 40th birthday at the Young Turks by myself. I mean, other people were there but I was there for a few hours, totally alone, with no birthday. I mean, not that I skipped some party that was. I've never had. Nobody's ever thrown me a birthday party. Well, I shouldn't say no. Most of my birthdays are pretty lonely. What the fuck am I doing? And I finished it, and it's like an hour, and it's really great. And I remember pulling off this whole scheme, and I enlisted Malcolm's help when he was in the room producing like the people's takes, because people took turns sitting at the camera talking about how much they loved their company and the kind of family feeling. By this point, I had finally been hired for the third time, and so I was receiving benefits for that month of November. After 12 months of full-time labor on my third classification right here, I was able to get hired for November. Let's watch this video real quick.
They say that you should not be able to take one day off if you're a working class man in America. Now you give all that BS mythology fables about, oh, I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm regular Joe. Regular Joe stands up for a guy who can't take a single goddamn day off. He doesn't want the paid sick leave. Not giving you paid sick leave saves them money. So that's why they...
Cenk saved a lot of money. I don't think save is the S word that I would use to describe the money that I didn't get paid.
Bribe the politicians who say you can't get paid sick leave. There, I made sense of it. It's so easy.
Yet all of Washington just said they're worth nothing and should get 0 sick days that are paid. So, okay, we have our answer. The workers are invaluable, and Washington doesn't give a goddamn about them and will screw them at every turn, including the Democrats.
Imagine how weird it was for me to sit here. Not that I remember that specific video, but like I'd been watching this guy for years and editing videos. For him to see him saying stuff like that while I'm sitting there with paperwork in my desk that says no benefits. Imagine how crazy that must have felt, how wild that was. If that's not motivation to unionize, I don't know what is. Let's finish this.
Right wing's often loony town, right? And they're like, oh yeah, Republicans love workers. That's why we say they should have no goddamn minimum wages, no sick days, no nothing, no paid family leave. They're like, but we love workers. Do you?
Do you, Cenk? Do you? Do you? You do you, boo.
Paid sick days?
0 paid sick days. I mean, it is
absurd. Corporatists go, oh, I don't want my beloved corporations paying for a single day off. No way. Back to the mines.
Paid family leave polls at 84%, and he won't fight for it.
Your job
won't fight for it. He will fight you if you ask for it, though. If you unionize and you say we want better treatment, he'll fight you. He's got a lot of money for those lawyers.
Protect the people who actually want to do that. It's the law. And it's moral, it's decent.
Give them higher wages through increasing minimum wage. Give them paid family leave. Give them universal health care. And the Democrats always say, oh, yeah, sure, we'll do it. Wink.
What does Uncle Ben have to say about that from the Spider-Man films, huh? He says, Peter, don't trust that guy. This TYT document or this Thanksgiving thing was really fun. I bet it's not up anymore. I don't know if you're a TYT member and you can get on their site and check it out. I could do that. I don't give it. I mean, I'm not going to go spend money so I can find that out or not. But I'm in it kind of a lot in a sense where this Dave Kohler joke that I had, because Malcolm pulled out this folder that I had made of papers, and it was so much fun because it's really fun. Dave is very funny when he's uncomfortable. And he and I had a great dynamic where I'm like the funny, crazy guy, and he's kind of the serious guy, but he's also not, he's benignly serious in a sense. Like, it's not like it's upset. We had a great dynamic. It was really funny. And I knew he would be really uncomfortable to try to get him to say, I love Hank. So I had papers that Malcolm showed him that were all about, and then he refused, and he sat there suffering. He was like genuinely like agonizing over it. In a fun way, and he refused to say it. It was very funny, and the whole thing was good. And I actually think there was a lot of heart to that one. That's a really sad one to me now, looking back on that. Edit. Okay, hey, awkward edit. I've been doing. I tried to do an hour podcast. We're like 4 hours in. I'm so exhausted. I forgot to read the performance review. I said it at the beginning, I think, that we're going to read the performance review from all that work. You just saw me talk about TYT Academy, which seems to have made TYT a ton of money. The Bernie Sanders t-shirt and commercial, that was probably somewhat beneficial to TYT, considering I got paid, I don't know, $140 for it. If it was 7 hours, I'm not sure. I don't really remember. And they gave me a free shirt, so I guess you got to say they were out that revenue as well. Cenk, go ahead and bill me if you think I need to pay you for the t-shirt. You heard me talk about all the shows I worked on. You heard me talk about the other stuff that I did in other eras, and this is all in response to Cenk telling Francesca, when she brought my name up, that helped with nothing, right? So I'm recording this after the end, and now it's going to be inserted. So apologies if the edit's kind of awkward. I'll find a spot where it sort of makes sense. We'll see. So here's the performance review. This can be read yourself on balledontheinside.substack.com in the article titled 2 Versions, 1 Truth, Evidence for My Claims About the Young Turks. And scroll all the way. I got all the receipts here, man. I got everything you want to see that backs up everything I'm claiming. So here it is. Let's see what happened. Well, if Jenks laughs at me, barfs at the sound of my voice, geez, if that's the case, gosh, considering that as he said, I helped with nothing. And then Francesca says, I was a great guy. Ha 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 ha. He laughs at that to express his disdain and his scorn. Because if he had just been a fucking man and used words to express that disrespect, that would have drawn attention to the project. And therefore he fell back on a coward's way of using a loud laugh to express it. Why don't you just fucking say it, Cenk? Anyway, so to finish all this up, let's read my performance review dated December 19th, 2019. This is an email. Looks like it was like a preview to another manager in order to confirm that this is the way what they're going to submit to the vampires up in the dipshit castle. Okay, so Hank hadn't written traditional goals, so this won't be a formulaic evaluation. Now, I want to be clear. TYT uses these goal worksheets to titrate raises and bonuses and stuff, and people find them very annoying. I've heard Anna complain about it on air, so there you go. And it's kind of corporate stuff. It's tedious and annoying, and people don't really feel great about it. But a lot of companies do that. I think it's kind of standard practice. Sadly, it always struck me as something very onerous. So this was about the only benefit of not getting paid days off, not getting bonus, not getting health insurance, was that I didn't have to do that same formal review thing that they did, the goal worksheets. But I was still under their review. I still had I never made a single decision that wasn't immediately revocable by a manager. If they said change that, I would have changed it. That was my job. I didn't have authority over any decisions I made. They trusted me to make a lot of decisions because that's what you do with a video editor who has experience and stuff, and my work was reviewed daily by literally everybody who saw the video. I also had to meet company performance metrics in terms of not that they were strict about speed or something, but you had to sustain a degree of competence and productivity quality. And if I had made too many mistakes, that would have been an issue too. I valued my ability to try to avoid those mistakes as much as I could. And including a year-end review. I recall the manager asking me to submit my own informal kind of thing in order to do this. And I think this is what he used to write that. So even though I didn't do the formal company goal worksheets, I still had to do this shit. I still had to have a year-end performance thing. Now, I wasn't expecting any raise. I wasn't expecting any kind of bonus at the time. I mean, actually, you know what? By this time of the year, I was hired. Yeah. So maybe, I guess in a sense, I might've thought that now that I'm kind of putting the pieces back together. But the whole time during the previous 12 months, it was clear to me that a raise was out of the question. It just simply, they weren't even willing to pay me for days off. Like I knew, and I had asked, actually, I did bring it up to the editing department manager multiple times. I do recall once asking if I could get a raise or if we could, and he said we could ask, but his tone was very I mean, I can't, well, we could, that's where it'll end, is basically what he was saying. So it was pretty clear to me that they weren't interested in me having a raise. So it's not like the goal worksheets were even meaningful in any way as far as my reason to do them, because I wouldn't have gotten a bonus and I wouldn't have gotten a raise anyway, right? Maybe after the third classification, I could have expected something, but that wasn't necessarily clear because I wasn't even fully on par with all the other editors either. I still wasn't a full-time regular. It was called full-time. It was called part-time permanent, or part-time regular. Nevertheless, though, I did have this performance review. That's all just based off this first one, so I didn't have to do the traditional goals, as he says here. They write, Hank is always finding new ways to improve the efficiency of his work, which is something I ask of all editors, but Hank really takes to heart. It's true. It's true. I actually went to college for efficiency, like literally, and supply chain management and manufacturing. His improvements help him tackle high-effort projects like Breakdown and TYT Academy in record times. I broke the record. Additionally, Hank always shares his discoveries and tricks with other editors, making his penchant for efficiency contagious. I was influencing my coworkers to be more efficient. That improves bottom line productivity. More sushi for the executives. And man, you know what I did love doing though? Because most of my editing career has been by myself, kind of lonely and stuff. But it was so great to share editing tricks and discoveries. I like calling it discoveries. That was awesome. I mean, I think most editors get that. I do woodworking, you can see, and one of my favorite parts is how like supportive woodworkers are. Woodworkers love to share tips. They love to be like knowledgeable but help other woodworkers. If you're like competitive and weird about your woodworking, it's one thing to kind of be jealous because someone's super good at it or something. That's fine. But like, it's a really supportive bunch. And the same is true of editors. Like, as far as my experience has been, it was always cool to kind of like see how other people do it because there's so many different ways of doing stuff in these programs. Anyway, Hank, paragraph number 3. Hank is a self-starter who takes liberties and doesn't need micromanaging. Gosh, that saves them a lot of money. That sure is nice that they can just turn me loose on something, knowing that I'll figure it out, that I've probably already got the experience to get it done, that I know how to ask for help because I'm highly versed in this thing, because I have a ton of abilities in terms of video editing and Adobe software, not just in Premiere Pro, but also in After Effects and Photoshop. I'm weakest at Illustrator, although I do have excellent shape tool usage in Photoshop. Yes, I am bragging. His creativity for aesthetics and effects made him the perfect choice for TYT Academy and Dan Keston's hands-off approach. That's the producer that was involved in it. It's true. I mean, I put a little extra pizzazz. I am good enough at After Effects to just respect the people that are really good at it, because man, it's a immensely versatile and powerful program, but I'm okay at it. Hank has also put his thumbprint onto the Breakdown. Although the show is much more rigidly structured, it allows for constant updating and evolving, which Hank seems passionate about and adept at. Truer words were never spoken. He has also stopped selecting depressing music. See, I took feedback and I grew. I didn't realize it was depressing until they told me. I just thought it was cool music. That's very funny. I hope the guy who wrote this is getting a laugh, by the way. Views have dropped off significantly with the emo crowd, but picked up with everyone else. Great writing, honestly. Solid way to end that paragraph. The third largest project of the year, the Thanksgiving special, was entirely in Hank's capable hands. He crafted a funny and engaging narrative that members loved. I delivered something really entertaining for members. TYT.com/search. I don't know, but search for the 2019 Thanksgiving special. Take a look at it yourself. Tell me if you think that guy deserved to have health insurance. Now, to be fair, I did get health insurance during that edit. That was my first month in which I got health insurance and paid days off. That was November of 2019. I started working, as you know, October of 2018. 12 months later, I got my first month of health insurance. And so I did get it for that thing. Yeah. So that's terrible, but I worked really hard on it. I put my heart into that. Because I have integrity and I wanted to do a good job. And it was also the kind of project that gave me the space to like let my more creative kind of funny editing go. And I feel like I did something really good there. Go watch it. If you do watch it, if you've seen it, but if you're on TYT.com and you go watch that, let me know. Just if you see it. I'm just kind of curious what people think. Final paragraph. Also, Hank's at tenure. This one has some kind of code. Like we can't necessarily conclude things from here, but he does mention things that seem kind of irrelevant to me, to any worker. So what's he talking about? But here he writes, also, Hank's tenure at TYT has not followed the trajectory that we all wanted. I want Hank to know that he is a hugely talented editor and storyteller, and that he is a valuable member of his team, of this team. It's in green because it's a special phrase. I was on the team, it sounds like. I didn't feel like it. I felt the obligation to function like I was on the team, but being excluded from benefits for all that time and having to unionize my workplace in hopes of being able to go to the hospital if I got hurt or sick really made it feel like I was on the outs. It also made it feel like I was being forced to carry a dark secret about TYT, and I just simply refused to do that. That's kind of why you're hearing me talk right now about this, because that incredibly unethical practice of using classification to deny someone benefits, which compelled us to wake up the union and follow through on it because we were fed up with it. We wanted better working conditions. Among the burdens was this notion that if someone said to me, "How do you like working for TYT?" I would have to lie in order to protect the company. And that seemed like a onerous burden. That seemed like a very unfair thing to place on someone's shoulders. Someone you're already gaining a hell of a lot of benefit from, right? I hope Hank can be patient with TYT as it continues with its financial growing pains, and hopefully things will continue to improve in 2020. I think all workers are forced to be much more patient. I think we all think of that as normal. You probably don't even realize how patient you're being. The reason you have to be patient is because they've successfully talked you out of your self-worth, and that you have a right and you deserve better. You deserve more. Pod Save America is short for Pod Save America from Long Overdue Worker Revolution. They've got you being patient instead of standing up for yourself. But what is he even talking about? Why would you say somebody has to hopes someone can be patient with growing pains for $21.63? That's $173.04 a day that they were paying me. They weren't paying me health insurance. They weren't even paying for Adobe software for me. I was paying my long stuff because I've had an Adobe account forever. Still do. Can't wait to get rid of it. Can barely afford it right now, actually. The only thing I still use on Adobe is the film. The big documentary, because it's all in Adobe stuff. And then I can't wait to not pay for the fucking Adobe subscription. Whatever. What do they call it? God, it's like been 5 hours. I'm so tired. So I just found it super fascinating that they mentioned the financial growing pains, clearly indicating some kind of recognition that there was something extra being asked of me, which is tolerating pain, right? Like maybe next year he'll get the respect that, or I should say, maybe next year he'll get the disrespect that the others get. My only hope was to ever only be upgraded to the same disrespect the others got. So does this seem like the review you'd write for somebody who, here Cenk says, let's see if I can get right to it. When Francesca brings up my name, does that seem like the kind of review you'd expect for someone that causes Cenk to do this?
And Emma Vigeland, and even longtime contributors who were editors, like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay, how?
There you go. That's Cenk. That's the real Cenk Uygur right there, everybody. You've seen it. You've seen it every time. You've seen it. You've seen who he really is, because this is who he is. That's who he is. Can I keep zooming? How much zooming can I do? Oh, come on. No, it's just getting goofy. Okay. So that's the performance review, as I promised, as I said I would read. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive is not the word. What's the opposite of impressive? Depressive? pretty much not cool. Like, I just $21.63 an hour, no benefits. I asked for help. And they went and they told me that they're going to call me part-time. Here's all the proof. It's all here. You've been seeing me. Oh, yeah, this is the email I sent saying, can I get paid for back pay? Let's go back to that here real quick, just because we're here. Can I be compensated for time I took off during this past year? I told them how it seems unfair. Excluding me from that benefit despite working 40-hour weeks makes no sense and is unfair. Do you think that they said, oh, gee, gosh, we're so sorry. That must have been hard for you. We'll give you the money because it's only the right thing to do. Also, it's not that much money overall, really. I mean, what difference does it make? No, nope. Sorry. Go fuck yourself. Get back to work. No back date. And yes, the bonus we're going to allow, we're going to prorate it to the date that's most beneficial to them, the third hiring date. Unbelievable, ma'am. Just unbelievable. Really, truly is. Here's the evidence here that they called me, that I was called a part-time editor. This is the bonus payment I got, totaling $655. Although after they take the highest tax out of the bonus payment, so you don't actually get that. That's why I only got $387.23. And as I explained here, they allowed me, despite the fact that I worked full-time hours since late October 2018, so all the way through the year of 2019. I only got 79 days worth of bonus if we're just gonna normalize it to 365. So there you go. There's the Francesca sequence. So back to the edit. I'll edit this in somehow. Sorry if it's awkward. I'm tired. I got it. Edit. So hundreds of thousands of dollars in income from this TYT Academy stuff. All the regular editing I did, all that stuff. And then there's this video of him demanding Emma pay him back for posting videos on Facebook because he's been called out for taking Polymarket money.
Emma, I can't believe you work with Peter Thiel and Peter Thiel funded organization Facebook. Hey, give me all that money back.
You must think your viewers are fucking morons to make that argument.
Emma, I can't.
Perfect. So back to it. That's the Sean O'Brien show. We'll get back to that. He is enraged that she brought my name up, though, and he does not want to talk about it. At least he was able to hold it together enough not to barf. And there's more to come here.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay, how?
It's amazing, isn't it? It's just so wild. God, so fucking weird. I've had so many thoughts about this over the last little while, but mostly I just admire Francesca for doing that because she's no dummy. She definitely understood the assignment as far as is this okay to talk about or not. And like I said earlier, maybe if she and I ever have a conversation, when did it raise her into her consciousness what went down? She tweeted actually. When TYT Union came forward on the 12th, I think they did actually. Yeah, it was the 12th of February. Their initial announcement, the same day that Cenk was delivered the formal hey, we're organizing letter. She tweeted a fist emoji, retweeted it. So, and there was mostly silence from TYT company. It's kind of sad that the home of progressives had a union come forward, and everybody there except Francesca. I think John might have, but I couldn't find it. But Anna signal boosted the smear as TYT started putting out the information that it was outsiders who manipulated them into unionizing. But she put that out there, the fist emoji. So, man, kudos to her. Let's keep going. There's more to this. Of course, this has gone into many hours territory. This is a 100-hour podcast. All right, here we go.
Oh, I'm afraid, man. I'm next. I don't know what I'm going to do that I'm booted out of the castle.
Look, he's so frustrated that nobody understands him. Gosh, why won't his persuasion work? He's like a wizard who just his spell works in the night in the 2000s. Why am I doing wizard hands? I think this is what wizards do. But the spell doesn't work anymore. It's like the persuasion is no longer effective. And he needs to find a new audience that'll fall for it. That'll be hoodwinked by this kind of confidence. And if you're a Wharton-trained capitalist vampire, you're used to being powerful people. You're used to being around other aspiring ghouls. You're used to a certain type of person. Cenk grew up a rich guy. I think he had some struggles as an immigrant, as from what I've heard him talk about, and I think that's genuine. I think that actually might inform his progressivism because that places you on the outside in America, for sure. But he had a lot of money access. His dad was a rich landlord in New Jersey. And then he becomes a corporate lawyer, going to Columbia School. So he was just an aspiring ruling class, and he worked for some DC law firm. I don't know any name. I didn't go that deep into it. And had his aspirations to get into the filmmaking or to broadcasting or into something. I know he wrote a script or was trying to do comedy writing or something. I've heard him say something about that. That goes way back to like even before I think he was on Sirius. I'm not sure. But so they, and he took a risk and jumped off the corporate train, or at least the corporate lawyer train. He probably would have made himself a lot of money. He probably still could make himself a lot of money if he just did straight up businessman thing, because this country rewards this type of personality, this type of person who's willing to take advantage of people, who's willing to benefit from the labor, the time, the talent, the work, the effort, and most of all, the weakness. Because the only reason why cowards like Cenk are strong is because the system makes the rest of us weak. And that's where he is strong, because he understands dominance. And it paid off nicely for him, but he didn't factor in that there's people in the world like me. I wasn't going to put up with this fucking shit. I'm a grown-ass fucking dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it's a weird, I feel a little cringy doing but like, I was 40. I was 39. I ran a business in Chicago before I sold it and moved to LA. I did stand up. I got giant fucking balls, man. Like, what the fuck? I'm not going to put up with this fucking crap. But if there was a world where he knew solidarity, do you know how powerful TYT would be now? Where's all the people coming out of the woodwork to back him up, all these claims, all the people from the past? Why isn't John out there screaming and yelling about how great a boss Cenk is? Where's Ricky Strom? JR? Where's their voices on it? Where's all the other past contributors not turning up? Nobody is. Even the people are still there because it's not solidarity. They're afraid. And the fruit of solidarity would have made him so much wealthier than he has any concept of. Because it's powerful. We're demanding that Sean Fain run for president. I'd like to see Sarah Nelson maybe get into it. That's the flight attendants union president. I think she's fantastic in interviews. What if Cenk had allowed himself the freedom? He must be so constrained by being a vampire. He's never seen himself in a mirror. He must be so fucking constrained. And if he says my name, it gets worse. He had to hold back Barf from hearing my name. Smash cut.
Say my name.
Now that's not, Walter White's the bad guy in that whole story, so maybe that's metaphor. But we'll get back to it a little bit here. Let's go.
And suddenly it's us versus them, and so what does it say about TYT? What does it say about you that there's so many former employees who are on our side ostensibly, who you have so much disdain for?
So, Franny, if you're next and I have this secret nefarious plan to push people out, why am I on here? Why would I come on here and talk to you for now nearly 2 hours when if I'm planning to push you, that doesn't make any sense. So
now, this isn't a judgment, Francesca, but it would have been awesome if she goes, well, then I'm unionizing. And then see how he responds. He would have gone like, Hulk smash. No, I'm not. I don't actually think she should have done that right there. But his whole thing is like, why am I here? The workers just said, can we have a slightly better life so we can continue to make you rich? And he said, I'm going to go get my ghouls and we're going to intimidate you back into submission. Cenk is a bully. This is bully. Union busting is bullying. It's fucking disgusting. And as we say on the internet, union busting is disgusting and worth discussing. That's right, bitch. Improv 101, baby. Charna Halpern.
Number two, some people have left the network, and don't exclude Dorr and Rubin, because Dorr and Rubin and some others they went right, but some others went left or far left or whatever. But some group of them have the same agenda. Come watch me, come subscribe to me, not the Young Turks. I'm the morally pure one. I'm the right one. I'm the one that's right, and they're all evil and terrible. And don't give them money. Give me money, right? So let's keep it real. So is that everybody? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. So a good example is Mondale Robinson. I like Mondale, and he has the similar ideological problem as you do, and he decided one day, that's it, I'm
the
quit.
similar ideological problem as you do. That's so funny. The way that response of hers was just, yeah, God. Cenk told Mondale he wants him to run for president, or at least maybe brought up the topic. Cenk kind of fancies himself a kingmaker, sort of like a Steve Bannon type, I suppose. I think he wants to be at the head himself to fulfill that messianic impulse. But like his first attempt, well, maybe, I don't know if it was his first, but he tried to get Allison Hartson to run for, or not tried to get, he had Allison Hartson run for senator in California. I believe it was against Dianne Feinstein, if I'm not wrong. It's a tough go. I mean, not to call him out for failing at that. That's not like, oh, you failed at that. That's not fair to point that out. You got to try. And that's what people do. And now every single ballot has multiple people who didn't win. Right. And it's not fair to judge Cenk or Allison for that attempt. Just bring it up to say, like, his whole aspiration to effectuate power and effectuate change is through media and electoral politics. Completely dismissing, maybe not even dismissing, but completely incapable of comprehending the actual fucking power that he had sitting on him. Like rocket ships are like oxygen and hydrogen, and then they mix it and they burn it. I know that's not, but it's a whole lot of stuff that has to happen for it to go and generate the force. And he was sitting on it, and he has no clue. Because like I said earlier, we brought him to heel with our fucking union. What did I say? Our fucking union. I'm sorry, everybody. With collective organizing. Keep going.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but bless his heart. That's what God made doors for. Okay. So, and now he's attacking me and saying I'm in.
God made doors so that Mondale could quit working at TYT. And then he's upset that Mondale is bringing it up because Mondale, as I've heard him say it, he faces literal white supremacist direct threats for him doing the brave thing of physically removing a Confederate monument in their town where he's a mayor. And doesn't sit well with him, at least, forgive me, Mondale, if I'm mischaracterizing, but it doesn't sit well with him that this guy is now breaking bread and wanting to have beers with the people that are underpinning and the online ideological thinkers and shakers and big funding behind that backs it all up, of the movement that buttresses the people who are threatening him and his family. And I think he feels violated because of Mondale's lack of loyalty. And what Mondale wanted, forgive me again, but as I keep saying, solidarity. We got to have each other's back. Got to be there for each other, because that's really what is truly the strength. That's why they have a whole system of division dedicated to making sure it doesn't form. So he's going to fit in with these dudes on the right, because he's used to making those types of people comfortable.
League with racists and stuff like that. Okay, that's his opinion, right? But when people cross a line like Rubin and Dorr and Sam Cedar, etc., and others, and they say, "Oh, Cenk's just has this evil plan, and he's doing it for money, and he's a grifter, and he works with the CIA, or he works with this guy or that guy." Well, okay, now you're lying, and you're lying in like extreme ways. So like this whole thing of like Sam, for example, analogized me to a Nazi, but he's done 1,000 things. That's just one of them.
So he said he's called him a Nazi, and then he also kind of changed that to analogize me as a Nazi. I might have the video where I believe he's sourcing that. I haven't fully watched it yet. I did watch it like once or twice, meaning like, but I haven't like necessarily internalized it, because everybody on the internet's looking for that. It's sort of a puzzle, at least with the little, group of psychos around with me. I mean, I say that with love, but like, it's like, where is it coming from? Same thing with like him saying that Emma says she's for the establishment. Like, I want to find the source material. I think that's at least good faith enough to be like, well, okay, we'll show it. Show your fucking work. So and it might be rooted in something, some tiny little sliver where Sam spoke about historical trends in terms of right-wing messaging, but him boiling it all down to, or strawmanning it up to analogize me as a Nazi is ridiculous. And this is what this video is too, you know.
Nazi.
That one. Fun. That's real fun. God damn it, I lose it every time. Motherfucker. Okay, here. I thought I was right the first time.
And then when I go, hey, hold on. When I say cut that crap out, and they're like, oh, we're the victims. Oh, wait, I just said you were a grifter.
Projection. Holy shit. When I say cut that crap out, so why are you in charge of Sam Seder? Why are you in? Because Sam Seder spoke about this time, and I think Cenk talked about it too, where apparently some conversation happened in Las Vegas.
I made it clear to Cenk that he was invited to come on the show, and you know, we can have a debate, we can discuss whatever. I mean, you know, and he made it clear to me that he was not interested in that. He was mad. He was very, very mad about all of it. And I will just say, like I didn't hear any issue that he had with the stuff that we talk about. He may have issues with me personally. That's fine. I don't care at all. You know, I told him 8 years ago, it was in October, I remember, because I think he was at that conference. And he said, you know, how can I get you and Jimmy to stop fighting? And I'm like, get Jimmy to learn a thing or two about what he's talking about, because he's not. He's the stuff he's saying, he's promoting Peter Thiel for the Supreme Court. He's saying that it doesn't matter who gets to appoint judges. And this is, you know, this is going to be a disaster. And by that point, he was also talking that Hillary Clinton had Parkinson's and that Seth Rich was assassinated by the Clintons. And, you know, my attitude was like, you could criticize Hillary Clinton, and you should, but when you promote right-wing memes like that, you are doing a disservice. It doesn't matter the other stuff you're talking about. I'm happy to go on that show at any time and debate these issues. But after that, I don't care about any of this. Honestly, it's a waste of my time. And so...
Live from the Polymarket studio in L.A.
I understand. I understand they were sponsored by.
Well, you're a
Polymarket.
grifter, apparently. That's the thing. Is look.
And about before Jimmy Dore split with TYT, Sam had already started going after Jimmy's content that he was putting out, and Sam has been very upfront about intentionally doing videos on Rubin and Dore and others because he wants the algorithm, and it's just a best guess of his. It's an educated guess. I think it's a fairly good one, that at least hopefully, as the algorithm is feeding people down the right-wing rabbit holes, because it's incentivized to create hatred, it's incentivized to keep your watch times go up the more people feel negative emotions, and these right-wing rabbit holes are very, very prominent. They're very well mapped. There's probably various other versions of rabbit holes spinning, you know, threading through this whole thing. But Sam it's been very upfront that he does that stuff specifically to try to make sure at least there's some counterbalancing narratives. To me, it's just reasonably decent strategy. I don't understand. And then for somehow that's become Sam being a grifter, because Cenk took it as if he's trying to cannibalize Jimmy's audience to take it down or something like that or whatever, which Sam probably would agree. Like, yeah, I was trying to combat that message. I think that's fair. But that's not grifting. The last person on this whole fucking space that anybody should consider Sam as a grifter is Sam Seder. Jesus Christ. They do a boring ass fucking interview every 5 days a week with some professor or some writer. Sometimes they're really good interviews, by the way. I'm not saying they're all boring, but like they have a format that they follow and they have a loyal audience. And I actually want to start calling more into that show. I think I'd be a good regular guest. I wonder if they'd be interested in having a a guy from the TYT union organizing group, the initial cohort. Maybe Sam is. I actually saw Sam once at the TV studio. I saw him there. He was taller than I expected. I didn't expect him to be so tall. He's 9'6".
And then you're lying to people, and you're cheating people. And I said, you might be a Nazi, and you're definitely a right winger, but I'm the innocent one. I can't believe Cenk counterattacked after I punched him in the face 20 times. I can't believe a poor little angel.
But he believes in saving Social Security and cutting the Pentagon. So
Cutting the Pentagon. Sorry, good slip up. Sorry,
can you give him credit for that and work with him?
Oh, yeah, of course. So, I mean, if Sam's going to vote to save the Social Security and not cut Social Security, I'm not the guy who says, I don't want his vote, right?
I just don't listen to this. This is going to shock everybody, even Cenk. I might vote for Cenk if he ran for office. Even now. It might be hard for me. I doubt I would, to be honest, but I'm open to the possibility because I don't assign my own personal virtue to the vote. I don't think it's that important of an act. If he's running for governor against some right-wing ghoul, he's getting my vote. We'll see. I don't know. I doubt it, really, but I hope he does run for some office. It'll help my film. Do it, buddy. But I really would. I don't necessarily have. I don't apply. I don't think that your vote is a reflection of that, because that's deeply individualistic programming. The more they can keep your brain trapped in the prison of individualism, the less you'll be able to imagine collective solutions to the problems we have. Because it's going to take all of us working together to get this fucking shit done. It's going to take all of us working together to finally take the billionaires down from billionaires to 999 millionaires only. It's going to take a big movement to even achieve something as reasonable as that. Because I share a similar view. Like he said, he's fighting Sam, he hates Sam, and then she says, well, would you work with him on those things? He says, yeah, I'd vote. Yeah. Same. I don't think Cenk would necessarily go to Congress and be like, everybody's an independent contractor. Give me all your paid days off money. I don't think he believes in his principles. I don't think he's capable of a sincere apology if he tried to make one. I don't think he's the kind of person that's worthy of respect. But in terms of advancing causes that I might prefer over causes that would cause more harm to people, it's plausible. It's not an impossibility for me, even now. That's what was sort of tragic about the whole running for Congress thing. Because not that I thought I wanted to go work on his campaign or something, but it just struck me as like, I was for it. I was hoping he would win. And I was unionizing his workplace to get health insurance when it happened. But I was still like, man, it'd be kind of interesting. It'd be super fascinating. But it made a lot of people nervous about the future of the company, too. It created a lot of conversations behind the scenes, of course, as any place would be. If you're working at Chipotle and then the manager starts running for Congress, the worker's going to talk about that. So, yeah. But it's really, really kind of fucked up that this is where we are. God, this is going first.
I have to go on his stupid show and agree with his stupid ideas.
Sam Cedar's stupid ideas and his stupid show with that Emma who keeps running her mouth about the establishment.
But you just, again, stupid. Again, these are words that you reserve.
Okay,
Why do you...
Randy, if I called you a Nazi and I said you're a right winger and you're secretly taking money from...
See, there he did. They're talking about Sam Cedar in this context, so he just applied the I called you a Nazi. So did Sam ever call him a Nazi? Because as I said in another show, again, I'm always referring to the previous episodes. That has a very effective communication, like that type of communication is, and he might not know it. I bet he's smart. I think he's smart enough to know it, but that tells the story to the right wingers that I'm kind of one of you because they call me a Nazi and you guys are being unfairly called Nazis, aren't you? Because a lot of right wingers don't like being called Nazis. Yes, they're lining up in line to vote for people who are also in the same line as them are the literal Nazis, the guys that are big Trump supporters. There are critics of Trump on the right, but they're still line up to support him. He has advanced their causes tremendously because America is incapable of resisting that turn. The ratchet effect is incredibly powerful. Trump being involved in politics should have been a massive gift to the Democrats to just simply switch slightly towards something, even an inch towards a Bernie Sanders type of messaging, and they would have cemented power for a very long time. And so a lot of the right-wingers feel very offended at the notion of being labeled a Nazi. Again, it's also that individualistic thing where, like, racism, we're all racist in this country because we were imbued with it by the culture because we were raised in America. If your parents were born in the 50s, they have 1950s racism. If you were raised in the 80s, you have 1980s racism. It doesn't mean everybody's the same kind of racism and stuff, but that's the collective notion, where racism functions as a nutrient in the soil that affects the way the plant develops. And it's much easier to grow the plant differently than it is to fix the plant after it's grown, although it still can be done in a sense. But in an individualistic sense, people get all butthurt about being called a racist. I'm not a racist. How dare you? You're insulting me. That's the individualistic programming that is all over our politics in terms of that. And a lot of right-wingers get upset when they get called a racist because they have a black guy at their work that they joke around with. But they don't want to see too many black people moving in their neighborhood, do they? You know what I mean? Maybe there's things that they don't say out loud. I'm not saying that makes you a saint. It doesn't excuse individual racism either. Individualism isn't eliminated. I'm saying that there are multiple lenses on this microscope that we have to click over to understand these things and gain some insights. That's why I always try to switch it to the collective, because there's more of a systems narrative there that threads it to history more strongly as well. You can't escape having the nutrient of racism in the soil from which you grew, no matter what. Even with black people, there's studies that show racist tendencies towards black people. I'm not saying please forgive me if that's overly simplified. I do believe that is backed up by some of the research and stuff, because they're humans. That sounds terrible to be like, but like all people are susceptible to cultural and sociological engineering. That's what culture is. It's the set of kind of unspoken commands and rules and code and things inside, and why people who have neurodivergent brains tend to be the ones who kind of are incapable of being forced into it, even though they do. That's what mass autism is for sure. But like there's a certain personality types, not just neurodivergent, not just autistic, but there's certain types of people that just simply don't fit into these molds, and so they see things with a little bit different perspective. And if you're not familiar with autism, it's incredibly variable. It widely ranges across people because it's about variability of the human nervous system, the most complex thing in the universe. Other than my logic. Keep going.
Pelosi and Charlie Kirk. Then, hey, and you said, hey, you got angry with me. Wouldn't that be a rational reaction?
I think there's been a conflation with
reaction be, oh, I love Cenk. I love that he called me a Nazi. I can't wait to work with him.
The straw manning is just crazy. It's just like he just produces these weird little simplistic things, as if it's like it's like placing marshmallows on the counter and just being like flick, 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 and he thinks that's some sort of like example of logic bro, mastery. Like, wouldn't you be the respect? Why? And it always phrases him as the victim in this. It's very reactionary, very much.
Oh, he's a freaking grifter. That's all he's.
You can say fucking grifter. Just say it.
Ever done. He literally told me that he was trying to take Jimmy Dore's audience to see Jimmy's was bigger.
Good.
So he wanted to.
You remember what Jimmy Dore did to me?
Oh, it was jealousy. Sam Cedar said, "I'm jealous of his bigger audience." No, he probably did want a bigger audience. He wants to grow. I mean, even if that is the case, I'd like to have a bigger audience than TYT. 6 million. I've been thrilled to go from 700 to 1.7K. Like, this is awesome. We're gonna get to 2,000 before the end of the year. It'll be awesome. Oh God, yeah. Jesus. And now she brings up the incident where Jimmy, on vacation, he did it apparently from Italy, went after Francesca over something, and Cenk did get involved.
Remember, the reason Jimmy Dore was out the door was in part what he did to me, and you and I talked about that at the time. It was when he had to finally face the fucking music and be hey, you cannot bully another not employee but a contributor.
Granny? I stood up for you.
Pause. Eye flicks. Right. Camera. Left. Camera. He stood up for her. She just handed him she put the ball up. One-handed baseball swing. Home run. I stood up for somebody. He wants the audience to believe. An opportunity. You pretend that he's a good guy. What did she say in response?
Right.
You did. It had to get bad, but you did.
There you go.
He had also been, he had been going the way of the dodo for a long time, but I just want to say, like, so it doesn't say anything about TYT, that there are these former employees who really,
More.
and I just want to back to the last thing I'm going to say is people really liked you.
This part.
They really did. And they looked up to you. And they thought of you as a comrade, a boss, a co-conspirator in this grand, political project to really change this
Someone
country.
who meant what he said when he says that people should get health insurance. I thought that. Yeah, I learned pretty quickly. I figured it out early. I mean, like 2013, 2014 time period when I was there. It wasn't a super respectful environment. It wasn't also like, it's not like he runs around like shitting on people and being a dick and stuff. Like, and there was a lot of days where people just did their work and they got shit done. And there was a lot of times for laughs, and he let people do experiment. You could use the studio. And I think on another show, I'm going to talk about some of the positives. I don't want to just leave out those details from this whole story for sure. Kind of a rhythm in any media company. I've not worked for a lot, but I assume like right before showtime, things get kind of intense, and then show goes and people do their work. But you got to prep. There's a little bit of a bustle, kind of a rhythm to the way the show works and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I so relate to this. I so relate to what she's saying, because I moved across the country. Not that they were calling upon me. It was a big opportunity for me to jump over to LA. What a huge deal. And because I believed in it, man. That's why I was a paying member. And I was so proud. I thought it was so cool. I don't have that. All right, look at this. This hat. This is the hat that I wore. It's all worn out. Actually, it's all crumbly. For some reason, the brim here got all like it's totally busted. I could still put it on, obviously, but it would probably make both Cenk and my head explode. I bet he and I agree with one thing here, is that I really wish I wasn't doing this. I really fucking wish I wasn't fucking doing this goddamn stuff, man. Ugh. God, please, just yeah, it's all busted in the rim. I don't know, like, see how it's all broken in there? But anyway, I wore the hell out of this hat. It's the original stitching too. It's the higher quality stitching than the one they switched to. I wore this all the time. I found it in my closet when I was cleaning it out, because I was able to go in there and root out the cat barf after getting rid of the cat. It's all busted up, and I had so much pride about this hat. With my light sensitivities too, as a person, I've always been a hat guy, as I came to learn how much that was connected to the autistic stuff. But yeah, man, there it is. I don't know why I felt like I had to show you that, but like I relate to Francesca, what she's saying here, and I looked up to the guy. This is definitely one of the more ultimate, like, never meet your heroes type of situations. So, yeah, there it is. More.
Country to make it more democratic.
He's gonna get defensive here in a second.
It really is. I have to say, like, there's a thin line between love and hate, and even these channels that are hell bent on being like Cenk's this, Cenk's that. You know what? They were all massive Cenk fans. I think we all are a little bit, and so I just want to say, like, it is sad.
Gavin from the Vanguard, the titular silly, was a big Cenk guy, huge. He loved it. He was a huge TYT dude, like a young kid. Those guys are in their 20s, but they were like TYT guys from like age 12 and up. Like they were high school guys watching TYT. I totally relate with what she's saying.
To see you, honestly, act like very small when in fact you could be a lot bigger.
Watch it again, Cenk. Slow motion.
Very small. When in fact, it could be a lot bigger.
So, Franny, I think you're being unbelievably unfair.
He's a victim.
You're taking 6 people, 4 of whom
I don't know the 6 people. That's an interesting thing. 6 people, 4 of whom. I wonder what Word doc he's pulling that from. I'm curious. I assume I'm one of the 6 people.
Like clearly doing it for money, okay, and clearly doing it for attention. And
4 out of the 6 are doing it for money. What are the 2 out of the 6 doing it for?
Anyone. I'm asking you a question.
You accuse me of incredibly unfair things. Can you allow me to respond? Franny, you know the people inside TYT.
Would he speak like that to Charlie Kirk or Mark Lamont Hill? Somebody he can't fire.
They work here 15 years, 17 years, 20 years, 17 years, and they love working at TYT. And what these assholes are doing is pretending that we're bad bosses and we're bad to our employees.
So I think he means me. And I've heard people talk about this moment and they say stuff about Vanguard, like because of the assholes thing. And maybe it's hard to say, but because he says the bad boss thing, and I've been like putting up stuff in some of the videos about him being a bad boss, and it's like in one of the articles, like, are you a bad boss, over and over and over, actually, in this one here, because he is. I mean, how can you possibly claim to be a good boss when you're this guy?
We're the only ones that are barbaric enough that live under corporate rule where we say, no, if you didn't have enough money for health insurance, we're going to let your kids die. And I would fix that immediately.
Would you? You wouldn't. That's a lie. No, he's talking about if he became president. That's what that's from. But yeah, it's kind of hard to make the argument you're a good boss when you lied about the workers who unionized. It's like, what the hell? So it's hard to say who he means necessarily. And it's okay that he called me an asshole. I think that's fair. I've called him names too. I think that's okay. We're both emotional grown-ups. Although, honestly, I thought I was the immature one. It's just, oh, God.
And we're bad to everyone that works at TYT, and we do all these things, and we push them out. Bullshit.
Okay, so push them out also indicates the hosts, again, like I was saying earlier, even though I told my firing story. I don't think that means, yeah. So I'm just trying to sort of read this through, and it's difficult to necessarily get to the bottom of it.
Those people left, and they said, oh, I'm going to be bigger and better than you. And then they viciously attacked not just me, but everyone that works at TYT. Why do you think Edwin and Bart and all those guys have been there for so long? We gave people 12 weeks of paid family leave when no one else was doing it.
Nope, not me.
And we did it for moms. We did it for dads. I mean, I can go on and on. Franny, to make it seem like I'm pushing people out and that I'm the bad guy here, when in fact, you know for a fact that 98% of the people that work at TYT love TYT and try to stay there forever and ever and ever. Sometimes they'll go to a different company.
They want to stay forever and ever and ever. Who could possibly ever want to leave?
Whoa, holy shit, that's bad.
I bet you, like, I could see Willy Wonka making this same spiel about the Oompa Loompas. Sorry, I just compared the workers there to that's not fair. I withdraw that. I apologize. But maybe not. I don't know. I know there are loyalty, and it's okay. Cenk has earned some people's loyalty. Again, it's a functional model, but there ain't a lot of solidarity going on as far as I can tell. Because I know where he is. I don't know where, but I know how much more powerful his company would be and his whole project would be if the thick underlayer of solidarity had grown to a point where people developed into the media professionals and the, creative professionals and the marketing professionals. And that meant that they got paid well and that earned all those extra miles. And, I gave all kinds of extra miles. I needed to keep that job. I had a lot of dangerous weather in my head that I was afraid of returning to. Right. And that's why I didn't deserve to be exploited as hard as I was there.
And come back to TYT. So please be.
Some people have come back. I know Ricky Strom took a break somewhere and then he went back to TYT for sure. Yeah. I recall when he left, actually, he had a very tearful goodbye, and it was very sweet and very sincere. And there was a lot of nice moments within the Young Turks world, too, that weren't public things. So, you know, because it has been a lot of people working really hard, spending a lot of time together, and human beings have nice moments occasionally.
Fair and honest with
Well,
your
and I was
audience.
allowed to drink as much coffee as I wanted. But coffee is one of those, coffee is the only drug your boss will pay for, which just gives you an idea why maybe coffee is not the healthiest thing. Speaking of which, it's like 7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock and I'm still fucking slurping up coffee. I wasn't a straw guy until like a little while ago, and now I am. I can't wait till my convalescence. God, I just want to be some old fuck with just and then die during a nap. God, end this nightmare.
Because working at TYT has been amazing for those people. And all we're getting is smeared by a couple of people who literally say, we want to tear down the network.
I think when he says smeared by a couple people, yeah, he could mean Zach and Gavin. He might mean Dan and me. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a tough one. I never said I want to tear down the company, though. I'm pulling for TYT, man. I think TYT has a lot of growth ahead of it if it's going to pull out of this. And I'm actually very interested in seeing where they end up finding, because I think they're still looking for some homeostasis here with their whole pivot thing. I got to think that they might not have anticipated the blowback that's been emerging. But in the same time, Jake and Anna are very smart people. They've been paying attention to this world for a long time. I was always on the post side of it mostly, for sure. Some studio tech stuff. I actually quite liked directing at the TriCaster. That's like the thing that switches the cameras and shit. And I found that kind of fun. But I did that in the earlier phase when I was Jimmy Dore's main dude before he started doing all his own stuff, which I was also involved with. But most of my stuff was post. So people who are producers spent a lot more time in rooms with Cenk and Anna, pitching stories and maybe having those kinds of conversations. But yeah, so yeah.
Network. We got 75 people here that we have to provide for.
He wants to give him credit for being the one providing. No, they're providing, Cenk. It's their fucking money that you pay them. They bring value. You get 100% of their value. You give them some of it back so that they can afford to pay their landlord and their food lord and their water lord and their medical lord with the money of their own worth they're spending, and you're harvesting the rest of it. That's how it works. Otherwise you wouldn't employ them. We just saw it up here. 6 figures, mid 6 figures. Well, I got paid like 10 or maybe as high as $12,000 out of that for the editing I did on this project. Oh, fuck, now which one is it? God. They provide. And solidarity means they provide it for each other, too. The mycelium network, which is the fungus nutrient thing that forests have in healthy forests, is like the model for that, I think. It's like, trees will send each other nutrients and shit. It's amazing. And they don't send a bill. And not one tree just decides to take over. Grow into space, depriving everything else. That's what the billionaires are. That's not what Cenk is.
And they're trying to take food off their table because me. I'm going to tear down the left-wing network. Why don't you spend your time, those people that I'm talking about, tearing down the right wing, tearing down Trump, tearing down all these people, instead of sitting there and going, oh, someone on the left is bigger than me. I'm going to tear them down. And that's what they're doing.
That's why I don't think he means me, because I don't think he contextualizes me as someone trying to get bigger. I'm not like jealous of the bigger thing. Like, I want enough money to not. My literal goal in life is to create the conditions where my beard might grow back. I did my hair today, which means I just buzz off my head, and I have patches missing from my head. Like, I have a big patch in the back. Like, my body is no longer able to grow hair and hold on to it. It's still got some left, but what's really annoying is my eyebrows have the hairs are all thin and stuff, but they like die and then they point down. So I have these like annoying little thin blonde lashes in my vision a lot of the time. Super irritating. I would love to just be able to feel okay enough that I could work on my projects and live off of like 40K. If I can make 40K this year, it's way more than I made in the last 3 years, easily combined, easily. Oh my God. And yeah.
I think I think it's a really sore subject, but I did just want to ask, I think yesterday on Mark Lamont Hill's show, you did say that, that what your strategy has actually cost you and cost TYT some subscribers, and members, more importantly.
Amazing point, by the way. Franny totally, watch his face go, oh, fuck, she just fucking slapped the fuck out of me. Wow, he makes his
financially
point,
support.
And she immediately goes, yeah, that's a sore subject. I saw you the other day say that you've been causing the company to lose money. It's perfect. It's perfect. Let's watch it again.
Show, your strategy yesterday on.
Someone on the left is bigger than me. I'm gonna tear them down, and that's what they're doing.
I think it's a really sore subject, but I did just want to ask. I think yesterday.
Let's watch it from a different source here on the Winners and Losers channel. Like and subscribe. Patreon.com/winners and losers. I need to get a different mic mixing board. It's like, because I gotta have that earbud thingy. I need a newer one. So here's the same conversation. We'll jump ahead a little bit. You can tell I put some of the stuff. This is him screaming about. Well, fuck it. We're 4 hours into a 100-hour podcast. Let's just play the whole. It's only 1 minute to 50 something here. Let's go.
We gave people 12 weeks of paid family leave when no one else was doing it, and we did it for moms. We did it for dads. I can go on and on.
Now, to be fair, I wasn't a mom or a dad. I'm just saying. If I had had a baby, though, here it is: leaves of absence. I would have been on my own. No vacation and holiday pay, no sick leave, leaves of absence, health and welfare benefits, including coverage for medical, dental, vision, accidental death and disability, long-term or short-term disability, or life insurance, severance benefits, retirement benefits, including pension or thrift plan contributions, and or any other benefits of any kind or nature provided to its employees. Because I was not an employee. My life was worth sacrificing because the words attached to me were independent contractor. It was okay to hurt me more than he hurt the other people because I had a different label. Because it saved him a little bit of money. A little bit of money. I can't afford to go see my family. I have to borrow. I don't even borrow because my dad doesn't expect me to pay me back. But the only reason I can go see my family is my dad is willing to buy me a ticket if I go home. And I couldn't, and I'm saying that about right now, but I couldn't afford to do that when I worked there either. I went home and my dad paid for it, the ticket. And I couldn't go to like a vacation or something where you spend money. It was just like go home and my dad, we like to go get Mexican and Chinese food because we both know how to party. Let's keep watching this. This gets good. Remember, Franny immediately.
Franny, to make it seem like I'm pushing people out and that I'm the bad guy here, when in fact you know for a fact that 98% of the people that work at TYT love TYT and try to stay there forever and ever and ever. Sometimes they'll go to a different company and go, whoa, holy shit, that's bad, and come back to TYT. So please be fair and...
Whoa, editing videos for Satan is worse.
honest with your audience, because working at TYT has been amazing for those people. And all we're getting is smeared by a couple of people who literally say, we want to tear down the network. We got 75 people here that we have to provide for. And they're trying to take food off their table because me. I'm going to tear down the left-wing network. Why don't you spend your time, those people that I'm talking about, tearing down the right wing, tearing down Trump, tearing down all these people, instead of sitting there and going, oh, someone on the left is bigger than me. I'm going to tear them down. And that's what they're doing.
I think it's a really sore subject, but I did just want to ask, I think yesterday on Mark Lamont Hill's show, you did say that, that what your strategy has actually cost you and cost TYT some subscribers, and members, more importantly, who financially support the show.
Well, the reality is this has cost us a good number of paid subscribers. We're not unaware of that. And it has cost us in terms of the live show, et cetera. The number is there. We're not unaware of that.
Speaking of putting food on 75 people's table,
the fish rots from the head down.
I added audio of FDR going, and I welcome the hatred of, to that little button on there. Yeah, Mark. Yep. Actually, I've cost my company money because this fucking stupid idea that I'm trying to do. And, I was saying this earlier, like maybe Cenk and Anna, I was saying they're like smart and they know they've been paying attention to this world. They might have anticipated that this change is going to require or going to necessitate a kind of like a corrective period, a rumbling kind of stage where things are sort of chaotic and then things will settle into a point when it finally starts to pay the dividends that they're hoping to come back to them, which either probably comes in the form of increased audience from center to right-ish stuff, people that might not have been exposed to this whole, information that's now available on the internet to make a more informed decision about whether they're trustworthy or not, as well as maybe investors or something like that. And the guy's got a lot of overhead. I get a little bit annoyed when people call out the Katzenberg stuff. I think it's a fair criticism that if money corrupts politicians, then money also corrupts business. I mean, the whole notion of business is an abusive structure that's rooted in so much of our past colonial domination-based economic kind of system. You're supposed to be lucky because some fucking asshole allows you to make him wealthy. But, is there any responsibility being expressed here?
This has cost us a good number of paid subscribers. We're not unaware of that.
Okay. Perfect answer, Francesca. Thank you.
You're goddamn right.